Chapter 656. Wang Lin, stop. I'm begging you, go down. Take me down. There was a hint of sadness and urgency in the voice. Wang Lin silently pondered. The voice that had disappeared from the San era echoed in his mind once more. While he was comprehending the suction force, the woman still hadn't spoken. Now that she had spoken, there were more emotional changes than before. His right hand touched his bag of holding and the scroll flew out. It gave off a gentle glow, and the suction force had no effect on it. The scroll opened, revealing the woman's back. For the first time, Wang Lin seriously looked at the woman in the scroll. Although it was only her back, she had a peerless aura. I'm begging you, take me down. I can't walk out of this scroll, so you won't be in danger. I just want to take a look. Wang Lin silently pondered and didn't speak. I can't help you or give you anything. I just beg you, help me, take me down. Wang Lin lowered his head and looked down. That place was completely dark and gave off a cold aura that was filled with a thick layer of frost. I can't help you. If you want to leave, then leave. Wang Lin shook his head. He didn't look at the scroll anymore and flew up. He had too many things to do. He had to break all the restrictions in the cave before Tian Yunzi and company arrived so they could enter the real cave. Although he didn't know when Tian Yunzi and company would arrive, he got a clue from his conversation with Yao Shishue. Tian Yunzi and company would arrive soon. Before they arrive, Wang Lin had to make a series of preparations. Time was very short, so he didn't have time to be curious. Also, he had to find a way to prevent Tian Yunzi from finding out. Only then would he be able to leave the demon spirit land. If he made even one mistake, the price would be death. Time was too little for him. The woman inside the scroll trembled. She wanted to turn around, but it was as if there was a seal controlling her. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't turn around. Seeing Wang Lin fly higher and higher until he was about to disappear, the woman clenched her teeth and softly said, Don't you want to know the true origin of the bead inside your origin soul?" Although her voice was soft, it was still clearly heard by Wang Lin. This sentence was like 10,000 bolts of thunder echoing in his ears, causing Wang Lin's body to suddenly stop. Don't you want to revive the woman's soul fragment inside the bead? If it was 10,000 bolts of thunder exploding around Wang Lin, then the second sentence was 100,000 bolts of thunder, millions of bolts of thunder. Not only did Wang Lin's body tremble, but his origin soul as well. His origin soul, his memories, everything about him erupted like a monstrous flood, as if the entire world was collapsing. Even with his mental fortitude, Wang Lin's body couldn't help but tremble. He turned around and stared at the woman. His gaze was like that of a wild beast. There was no longer any of the calmness he had cultivated for more than 800 years. At this moment, what Tian Yunzi, what cave, what blood ancestor, what demon spirit land? All of it collapsed. The only thing that remained in the pit was a crazed gaze. This gaze came from Wang Lin, and he was looking at the woman. What did you say? A hoarse voice came from Wang Lin in a tone that had never appeared before. It was just 4 simple words, but they gave off an indescribable feeling. At this moment, it was as if even the whistling that had never stopped for countless years had weakened. The woman softly said, I can tell you the origin of the bead, I can tell you the method to revive the soul inside the bead, and I can even give you the opportunity to leave this place. Wang Lin closed his eyes. He didn't want to think about the truth of this woman's words, and he didn't want to know why this woman knew everything about him. He didn't want to. When he opened his eyes, Wang Lin didn't say a word. He grabbed the scroll and quickly flew toward the bottom of the pit. Even if there was only a chance of survival, he had to fight for it. There will always be one thing in a person's life that no matter how smart or calm they are, they can collapse in an instant. Even in the face of endless danger, even in the face of life and death, they have to stubbornly do it. In the end, Wang Lin was still a person. He wasn't a cold celestial or a ruthless god. After cultivating for more than 800 years, Wang Lin's calmness was deeply embedded in his bones and had become instinct. He could calmly leave a ruthless bag of holding for Suzaku's Zhou and wait for her to open it one day. He could calmly face all enemies. No matter how powerful they were, they wouldn't shake his Tao heart at all. However, there was a power that could shatter this instinct. Only when you lose something will you want it even more. Only after you lose it will you realize that you have always wanted to cherish it. If a person is always calm, blind, and without any ripples in their life, can they still be called a person? Wang Lin couldn't do it. He grabbed the scroll painting, his eyes filled with sorrow as he shot down like a meteor toward the bottom of the pit. At this moment, he didn't want to think, he didn't want to distinguish. The woman in the painting let out a faint sigh and said softly, "I'm sorry. Don't worry, I'm not lying to you. It took a lot of determination for me to say all of this." Wang Lin didn't say anything, but his grip on the scroll grew tighter. It was as if he wasn't holding onto the scroll, but a ray of hope. On the other side of the cliff, the frost was even thicker, faintly emitting a crystalline light. The suction force was also stronger. Wang Lin didn't know how much time had passed. This deep pit seemed to have no end. No matter how much he fell, in the end, it was still a stretch of darkness. "Closer, closer," the woman in the painting said in a trembling voice. At this position, the suction force was infinitely strong. Wang Lin's body whistled through the air as he followed the suction force downward. After a long time, perhaps a day, perhaps a month, perhaps a year, a short corridor appeared in the darkness below. There was a huge vortex at the end of the corridor. This vortex was slowly rotating, and the suction force was coming from within the vortex. The strange thing was that the suction force seemed to have been sealed in this place, and there was no suction force at all. Only when the suction force surged out of a certain range would it suddenly become stronger. The moment Wang Lin saw the vortex, a mysterious force came from the scroll painting. It entered Wang Lin's body and gathered in his eyes. At this moment, his gaze seemed to pierce through the vortex and see what was inside. There was a starry sky and countless cultivation planets. It was like another world. "This is..." Wang Lin looked at the vortex, and his expression changed. At this moment, he regained his calmness. The woman in the scroll softly said, "My home, the Luo Tian star system." Qidian had introduced a new rule. Previously, if someone gave 10,000 Qidian coins, they would get one monthly ticket. Now, if someone gave 10,000 Qidian coins, they would get 2 monthly tickets. If someone gave 5,888 Qidian coins, they would get 1 monthly ticket. Fellow Taoists with conditions, I hope you can support me. Thank you and be grateful. To be continued. Chapter 657. All Heaven's Star System. Wang Lin's pupil shrank. In his memory, there was no information about the Luo Tian star system. Even the memories of ancient god 2C didn't mention a star system. The woman in the scroll trembled. She seemed to want to turn around, but there was an invisible force that made it impossible for her to do so. "Home," Wang Lin pondered. After a while, he stared at the scroll and said, "I've brought you here. It's your turn." The woman in the scroll let out a sigh and her ethereal voice echoed. "Do you want to hear a story?" Wang Lin frowned. His expression was gloomy as he coldly said, "Not interested." The woman paused for a moment, then smiled bitterly and said, "A long time ago, in the entire world, even in the entire starry sky, there was a mysterious starry sky. That place was the holy land of all cultivators. That place was called the Celestial Realm. Many of the rumors about the Celestial Realm have disappeared in the long river of time. In fact, no one can confirm whether the Celestial Realm really exists. However, there is a legend that has been passed down. According to the legend, the Celestial Realm gave up on cultivators and disappeared. All that was left were the 4 passages that led to the Celestial Realm. After countless years, These 4 passages became places for high-level cultivators to ascend. They were wind, rain, thunder, lightning. Each of the 4 celestial realms corresponded to a star system. Above the Luotian star system was the thunder celestial realm. The heaven-defying bead doesn't belong to the Alliance star system. It first appeared in my Luotian star system. No one knows how this bead appeared, but the moment it appeared, all the top cultivators in my Luotian star system felt the existence of the ancient celestial realm. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as he coldly stared at the scroll and didn't speak. As you can imagine, that trace of aura from the ancient celestial realm made almost all the peak cultivators go crazy, but in the end, this bead mysteriously disappeared. After countless years, we obtained some clues. This bead, for some reason, appeared in the Alliance star system of the Rain celestial realm. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes as he pointed up and said, "You were the one who set up the ancient teleportation formation." The woman in the scroll silently pondered. After a long time, she shook her head and said, "I didn't enter the Alliance star system from here, but that transfer array was indeed created by a cultivator from my Luotian star system. That teleportation portal has long since been abandoned. Unless you have a Luotian stone, you won't be able to activate it, not even immortal jades. I've already told you everything I know about the origin of the heaven-defying bead. As for the shadow of love's soul fragment, my ancestor can help you. As long as you take me through this vortex to the Luotian star system and send me home, I'll definitely ask my ancestor to help you resurrect that soul fragment." Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he stared at the woman in the scroll. After a long time, he withdrew his gaze. The moment he saw the all-heaven star system, he regained his calmness. This woman clearly wanted to lure him to the Luotian star system. "What sect are you a disciple of in the Luotian star system?" Wang Lin calmly asked. "The Luotian star system is different from your Alliance star system. There are no sects, only cultivation families. My family is the Xiang family on planet Donglin." Wang Lin pondered a bit and then said, "I'm afraid I won't be able to pass through this vortex with my cultivation level." The woman in the scroll shook her head and softly said, "You have the heaven-defying bead, so you can definitely pass." There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. The woman's words were so certain, so she must have been hiding a lot of things. Wang Lin no longer wasted time with the woman. His right hand reached out and grabbed the scroll. He didn't charge into the vortex but floated upward. The woman in the scroll immediately asked, Don't you want to resurrect that beautiful shadow?" Wang Lin silently pondered and charged out. He immediately spread out his origin soul and body to fuse with the suction force and floated upward. Along the way, no matter what the woman in the scroll said, Wang Lin didn't speak. After an unknown amount of time, Wang Lin saw the protruding boulder in the distance. On the other side of the boulder was the crack. His body flashed and he landed on top of the boulder. He looked down at the teleportation formation on top of it. His origin soul moved and immediately released lightning that followed his feet into the boulder. Popping sounds immediately came from within the stone, and green lightning swam across its surface. Then, with a boom, it shattered inch by inch into rubble, which was pulled down by a suction force. Without the boulder, this place was the same as before. There was nothing special about it. Then Wang Lin grabbed the scroll and entered the crack 200 feet away. After entering this place, Wang Lin threw the scroll and it stabbed into the wall. Then his eyes became cold and his hand formed a seal. Restrictions flew out and surrounded the scroll. "Why are you doing this? Without my help, the remnant soul inside the heaven-defying bead won't be able to resurrect." The woman's anxious voice came from the scroll. "Quiet." There was a flash of lightning in Wang Lin's eyes and more seals appeared in his hand. Soon, they covered the entire spatial crack. He had checked the scroll when he was ascending. With his power, he couldn't destroy it, but the woman inside knew too many secrets. Since he couldn't kill her, then he would seal her forever. Wang Lin! Without me, the remnant soul in your bead will never be able to come back to life. A vicious voice came out from the scroll like the howling of a chilly wind. Wang Lin's face was gloomy. His hands moved faster and faster, and the vicious voice became weaker and weaker until it completely disappeared. This seal lasted for several months. Wang Lin didn't stop at all. Countless restrictions gathered together to form a terrifying seal. Several months later, Wang Lin stepped back and left the crack. His eyes lit up and his right hand hit the crack. The crack collapsed and buried the scroll inside. From the outside, there seemed to be nothing out of the ordinary. No one would ever know that there was a woman in the scroll painting who was sealed deep within. Even if someone came here, they wouldn't have time to check the walls around them because they were resisting the suction force. After sealing the scroll, Wang Lin didn't immediately leave. Instead, he leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. Time slowly passed. Several days later, a faint fluctuation came from the area where the scroll was sealed. Just as the fluctuation came out of the crack, Wang Lin, who had his eyes closed, suddenly opened them and revealed a grim smile. His hands formed a seal and a black shadow appeared from the void behind him. It charged toward where the crack was. Seal. Wang Lin let out a roar and the celestial guard's hand formed a seal. A powerful seal appeared in the puppet's hand and pressed down on the seal the moment the ripples spread out. Vaguely, Wang Lin heard a miserable groan. His eyes lit up and he and the celestial guard both sent out seals that penetrated the wall and went deep into the wall. After doing all of this, Wang Lin put away the celestial guard and continued to silently close his eyes. Several months later, the fluctuation appeared once more. What awaited her was another complete seal. After sealing the scroll 3 times, Wang Lin pondered a bit and no longer stayed. He flew into the sky. The woman inside the scroll should have had a very powerful cultivation, but now she is sealed inside the scroll. Originally, this woman would never be able to escape, but back in the immortal graveyard, she absorbed the third ancestor's tattoo beast and gained a sliver of her spell. I didn't investigate and allowed her to find out a lot of secrets. If it wasn't for the fact that we were in a special place in the abyss, she wouldn't have told me everything and would have continued to wait for the day she recovered. If I keep such a hidden danger by my side, I will definitely be affected by her in the future. I fear she has other motives for luring me to the Luo Tian star system. As Wang Lin flew up, he silently thought. She said that I should only listen to 30% of the information, but the Luo Tian star system should be real. Otherwise, she wouldn't have let me take her there. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he floated upward. The suction force here was very powerful. Although Wang Lin's avatar was part of the suction force, he could still feel that there was a layer of pressure preventing him from going up. He took a deep breath and slapped his bag of holding. The 7-star sword formation flew out and surrounded him. It created a large amount of force that pushed him upward. The Xiang family on planet Donglin. Even if this family has no connection to this woman, they can still find out her identity. Since she said that her family's ancestor can revive Wan Air, then whether it's true or false, I have to go take a look. Without the woman in the scroll following me, even if I go to the Luo Tian star system, no one will know I have the heaven-defying bead. Besides, the demon spirit land is filled with danger. The Tian Yunzi and company can come at any time, and once they arrive, they will inevitably meet. As a result, I won't be able to resist those existences with unimaginable cultivation levels. As Wang Lin flew up, there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. However, since the last token is in my hands, without me, they can forget about entering the real cave. As a result, it is useless for them to come to the demon spirit land. Even if they find out from the greedy wolf that the token is in my hands, and even if they confirm it, I will have already left for the Luo Tian star system. Once my cultivation level increases and I can talk to Tian Yunzi and company on equal footing, I'll come back to explore the mystery of this cave. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. However, before that, there are some things I need to deal with. I don't know when I'll be back. Wang Lin let out a sigh. In this deep pit, the seven-star sword formation was no longer as effective. The shadow behind Wang Lin flickered and the celestial guard turned into a black tornado. It carried Wang Lin and sped up once more. They were getting closer and closer to the exit of the deep pit. A large number of mosquito beasts were roaring at the exit. One of the purple-colored mosquito beasts that was originally dispirited immediately lit up at this moment. It instantly rushed out and directly knocked away some of its companions that were flying in front of it. At the mouth of the abyss, it stared straight down and let out a series of roars. This roar revealed an indescribable joy. The mosquito beast's body trembled as it flapped its wings and charged into the abyss without any hesitation. At this moment, even if all of the mosquito beasts called out at the same time, they wouldn't be able to make this purple mosquito beast turn around and charge down the abyss. As Wang Lin rose into the air, he immediately noticed the roar from above. He looked up and saw the mosquito beast he hadn't seen for decades. When the beast saw Wang Lin, its eyes were filled with joy and it roared around Wang Lin. It was like a child that had been away from his parents for many years and had finally seen his family. It excitedly flew under Wang Lin and carried Wang Lin out. The moment it flew out of the abyss, Wang Lin let out a deep breath. The reason he was able to fly out so smoothly, aside from the fact that he had fused with the suction force, the T-Star sword and the Celestial Guard had played a major role. In addition, the weakening of the suction force in the deep pit also played a big role. The suction force of the deep pit was unpredictable. It was sometimes strong and sometimes weak. If it was at its strongest, then even with all of the advantages Wang Lin had, it would have been difficult for him to charge out. After flying out on top of the mosquito beast, Wang Lin immediately saw the thousands of mosquito beasts. They were all staring at Wang Lin with ferocious gazes. Wang Lin frowned. The number of mosquito beasts had decreased by more than half compared to many years ago. Presumably, something had happened during the battle between the greedy wolf and Zhou Yi, causing the number of mosquito beasts to decrease greatly. I just don't know what kind of changes happened. Wang Lin pondered a bit. His right hand pressed down on the head of the mosquito beast below him and his divine sense surged. Images immediately flashed through Wang Lin's divine sense. Halfway through the battle between Zhou Yi and the greedy wolf, a man and a woman arrived at the exit of the fire demon country. These two people were too strong, and with just one grab, the greedy wolf was captured. As for Zhou Yi, he was also captured by the man and woman. However, it didn't seem like they had any malicious intent. Instead, when the man saw Zhou Yi, his eyes revealed melancholy and nostalgia. The mosquito herd wasn't destroyed, but most of them were taken away by the cultivation couple. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Lin's mosquito beast had noticed that the situation was bad and used a strange method to change its body so that it looked no different from an ordinary mosquito beast, it might have been captured as well. Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense from the mosquito beast and his expression was gloomy. He pondered a bit and then patted the mosquito beast. The mosquito beast let out a roar but didn't fly toward the exit of the fire demon country. Instead, it changed direction and flew toward the entrance of the water demon country. With the suction force of Wang Lin's avatar, any place could be an exit. As they flew, the thousands of mosquito beasts followed behind. They would occasionally let out cries of reluctance and despair, as if they were trying to persuade Wang Lin's mosquito beast to stay. On this day, a ray of purple light shot out from the entrance of the water demon country and turned into the mosquito beast. Wang Lin was sitting on top of the mosquito beast with a gloomy expression. The moment the purple light appeared, more than 2,000 mosquito beasts also rushed out and surrounded Wang Lin. Their gazes all landed on the purple mosquito beast, and their cries became even louder. Wang Lin's mosquito beast revealed a decisive gaze and let out a series of cries as if it was responding. The surrounding mosquito beasts' reluctance became even stronger. They would occasionally look at Wang Lin with ferocious gazes. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he stood up. Lightning came out from his origin soul. At this moment, it looked like he was surrounded by lightning. His eyes were like lightning as he coldly looked at the mosquito beast. Feeling Wang Lin's state of mind, the mosquito beast below him let out a roar. Its roar was filled with a powerful pressure, causing the surrounding mosquito beasts to slowly scatter. Wang Lin took out his bag of holding, opened it, and looked at the surrounding mosquito beast. The mosquito herd was completely silent. After a long time, one of them flew out and turned into a ray of gray light before entering the bag of holding. Shortly after, more mosquito beasts flew in. However, not all of the mosquito beasts chose to enter the bag of holding. About 2/3 of them chose to remain silent as they watched Wang Lin and their king disappear over the horizon. After a long time, they all cried out at the same time, their voices filled with grief. Slowly, these mosquito beasts' bodies collapsed one by one. They actually severed their own heart veins, falling from midair, falling into the entrance of the tide. In the distance, the mosquito beast under Wang Lin's feet trembled. It slowly turned around and looked toward the direction of the tide abyss. Its eyes were also filled with sorrow. Wang Lin let out a sigh as his right hand rubbed the head of the mosquito beast. Based on his understanding of mosquito beasts, he knew that unless the mosquito was a cub, it would be impossible to subdue it once it reached adulthood. The ones that entered the bag of holding were all cubs, and the ones that chose to kill themselves were all adult mosquito beasts. In the world of mosquito beasts, if they were abandoned by their king, then the only outcome was death, unless a new king appeared. Wang Lin couldn't bear to see the mosquito beast's disappointment. He flew into the air and put the mosquito beast back into his bag of holding. He had it stay with its companions and the thunder frog. Only like this could it slowly recover from its sorrow. Wang Lin looked up at the blue sky and white clouds. He hadn't seen the sky for a long time. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and a crystal appeared in his hand. His divine sense entered the crystal and it immediately released a crystal light that enveloped him. In an instant, the crystal light disappeared along with Wang Lin. When he reappeared, Wang Lin was already inside his cave. Looking at the many restrictions that hadn't been broken yet, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he muttered to himself, "When I return next time, I'll break all the restrictions here one by one and unlock the mystery of this cave." He took a deep breath and his hand formed a seal to seal the cave. Then he destroyed the transfer array so that no one would be able to enter the cave. Not even the blood ancestor would be able to enter. After doing all of this, Wang Lin looked back at the cave. He saw the spirit of the cave appear. He looked at Wang Lin from afar and didn't say a word. Wang Lin turned around, held the crystal, and left. Outside the soul refining tribe in the Sky Demon Country, Wang Lin's figure appeared. When the tribe members saw Wang Lin, they were in a trance for a moment, but they soon revealed joyful expressions and kowtowed. He didn't take away the souls of the soul refining tribe members. Wang Lin called Shi San and Oyenghua into the pagoda. After giving them some instructions, he left behind some cultivation methods, including the continuation of the giant demon clan cultivation method that Shi San cultivated. Then he left. The moment he left, Shi San knelt on the ground and kowtowed a few times toward Wang Lin. Oyenghua did the same. Both of their eyes were filled with sadness. Although Wang Lin didn't say anything, they had a feeling that it would be very difficult for them to meet again. In the Sky Demon Country, inside the Demon General's mansion, Chun Tao was also cultivating. After many years of healing, he had recovered and even made some progress. Although it was not far, it was no longer far. Shortly after, Shi Xiao opened his eyes and they were filled with light. Sure Shao sat down in the lotus position. His cultivation had returned to the mid-stage of ascendant with the help of the medicine. Although he was still far from the late stage, his eyes lit up. Beside him, Chun Tao also opened his eyes, revealing a profound gaze. Sure Shao calmly said, Chun Tao, tomorrow I'll report to the Demon Emperor and recommend you as a demon general. I'll let you go to the Dragon Lake to comprehend. Although it won't be the real inheritance, comprehending there will be many benefits for you. Chun Tao thanked him and said, Tomorrow, I'll have to call you Vice-Commander-in-Chief. Sure Shao proudly smiled and said, This position should have belonged to me more than 100 years ago. However, it was stolen by Mo Lihai using despicable method. If it wasn't for that lowly Wang Lin, what would Mo Lihai be? Chun Tao looked at Sure Shao and calmly said, Wang Lin is my junior brother. Sure Shao raised his eyebrows and sneered. When my Sky Demon country was at war with the Fire Demon country, where was your junior brother? Taking advantage of the emptiness of the Fire Demon country, he stole our credit. Although he helped Lord Ancient Demon, it was a disgrace to us. Moreover, this person has been missing for many years. I'm afraid his corpse is already cold. You remember him as your junior brother, but I'm afraid he has long forgotten that you are his senior brother. Chun Tao silently pondered and didn't speak. Sure Zhao's eyes revealed a hint of mockery and he said, Calling him lowly is already an understatement. If he didn't die, I would have killed him. I would have let him know how a cultivator of the land of cultivation should view himself in the demon spirit land. Is that so? An ice-cold voice came from the void around them. Sure Shao was startled, but his expression immediately became gloomy. He looked around and shouted, Who is pretending to be mysterious? Come out for this Commander-in-Chief. Beside him, Chun Tao's eyes lit up and he stared at the sky. He saw a black figure appear in the sky with a bright moon behind him. This person stepped on the moonlight and slowly walked over. There were bursts of lightning moving around his body, creating a crackling sound. It looked very shocking. You're Wang Lin. Chun Tao's eyes lit up and he recognized the identity of this black figure. You have 3 breaths of time to dare to break into my mansion. Scram, or else I'll behead you. Sure Shao coldly looked over and his eyes were filled with killing intent. His cultivation level had increased greatly in recent years and was now equal to an early-stage ascendant cultivator. The demonic spiritual energy in his body was very dense. Wang Lin landed on the ground. He calmly looked at Sure Shao and slowly said, I promised someone that I would take your life. Today I'm here for that. Sure Zhao's eyes were filled with killing intent. His body turned into an afterimage as he charged at Wang Lin. As he moved, his hands formed a seal and he was about to use a spell. Wang Lin's body didn't move, but under the moonlight, the shadow behind him became ferocious and extended out from his body. It charged out from the ground and passed by Sure Shao, who was charging at him from the half-piece of rock. Chun Tao's expression changed greatly. Just as he was about to step out, the black shadow that was fighting Sure Shao revealed a sharp gaze. Under this gaze, Chun Tao's body trembled and his origin soul shrank. He stopped moving and cold sweat came down from his forehead. Yin and Yang. Chun Tao's eyes were filled with terror. The black shadow returned to Wang Lin's feet and turned back into a shadow. As for Sure Shao, he fell to the ground with a bang. His eyes were still open and were filled with killing intent. However, his vitality and everything in his body had shattered. Wang Lin turned around and left. Under the moonlight, his figure seemed to be walking on the moon. His clothes and hair fluttered as he flew further and further away. Be careful, teacher. Wang Lin's voice echoed in Chun Tao's ears. He stared at the sky for a long time and couldn't say a word. In the demon spirit land, Wang Lin took care of all the trivial matters and appeared at the entrance to the demon spirit land. He looked back at the earth before his gaze fell on the sky. His gaze seemed to pierce through the sky and continued to climb. His gaze broke through the sky and extended to the East Demon Spirit Sea. Outside the East Demon Spirit Sea, Tian Yunzi, Ling Tianho, the Blood Ancestor, and the 8 elders suddenly stood there. Everyone was waiting for Ling Tianho to open the Demon Spirit Gate when Tian Yunzi exclaimed. He looked at the Demon Spirit Gate and slightly frowned. They had entered the Demon Spirit Gate a few decades earlier. All of this was because when Tian Yunzi was cultivating more than 10 years ago, he suddenly felt a sense of fear. This was a feeling he hadn't felt in tens of thousands of years. This feeling came from the Demon Spirit Land. It came from the imprint he left on a disciple named Wang Lin. At that moment, the imprint was forcibly removed. This wasn't the first time the imprint had been removed. A long time ago, a disciple named Sun Yun also did this. Tian Yunzi wasn't the only one who felt uneasy. The Blood Ancestor was also uneasy. His uneasiness came from his daughter, Yao Shishua. As time passed, this uneasiness became even stronger. At his level of cultivation, the uneasiness in his heart couldn't be groundless. That's why when Tian Yunzi suggested entering the Demon Spirit Land early, he was the first to agree. Yao Shishua was his only daughter and his only family. For this daughter, he was willing to do anything. Similarly, Ling Tianho's heart was also gloomy. 9 of the 12 life lanterns of the 12 swordsmen had been extinguished. Ling Tianho's anger was still suppressed in his heart. After entering the Demon Spirit Land, he was going to find the greedy wolf and ask him about it. At this moment, the 3 of them did not know that the trouble that troubled them, the 3 of them, was all because of one person. Ling Tianho pressed his palm down and opened the Demon Spirit Gate. He waved his sleeves and stepped out. Chapter 659. This palm landed on the vortex, but what it shook was the entire Demon Spirit Land. At this moment, all 9 countries of the Demon Spirit Land trembled. The entire Demon Spirit Land was suddenly filled with cries of shock. The sky was no longer blue but dark. The clouds churned and formed a giant vortex. This vortex was so large that it covered the sky and continued to expand. As it rotated, strands of sword energy came out from it and spread across the world. An extremely tyrannical aura that made it seem like he was the heavens came out from the vortex. At the same time, 7 rainbow-like lights appeared from the vortex and scattered across the world. At this instant, all of the ancient demons in the Demon Spirit Land came out from their holy lands and gloomily looked up at the vortex in the sky. Belu frowned. Bello frowned and looked up. Then, he flicked his sleeve and disappeared. Several people walked out from the vortex in the sky. Ling Tianho was wearing a green robe as he stood in the air. He looked down at the earth and shouted, "Greedy wolf! Come out and meet the old man!" His voice was like countless bolts of thunder that spread across the sky. The ground began to crack and the cracks spread like crazy. Ling Tianho's voice instantly echoed across the entire Demon Spirit Land. What was strange was that Tian Yunzi and company seemed to already know that the greedy wolf had come, so they weren't surprised. The Blood Ancestor was wearing a red robe. He frowned and his expression was as gloomy as water. The moment he entered, he spread out his divine sense but found nothing. It was as if Yao Shishua had completely disappeared. This made the uneasiness in his heart even stronger. He took a deep breath and secretly activated his spell. He spread out his secret spell once more and his expression became even more gloomy. Tian Yunzi raised his right hand and pinched his fingers. Outside, there was the East Demon Spirit Sea, so his divination and divination spells were always shrouded in fog. Now that he was in the Demon Spirit Land, he was shrouded in fog, so his divination was no longer obstructed. The instant these eccentrics entered, Wang Lin, who was outside the mouth of the tidewater abyss, leaped into the air and shot down like a shooting star. At this moment, the gravitational force was like a boundless pushing force, pushing Wang Lin even faster as he rushed down the corridor toward the pit below. Ling Tianho's expression was gloomy. After he spoke, his divine sense spread out. When he reached the extreme north, 2 divine senses suddenly appeared. Ling Tianho let out a groan, his body trembled, and his eyes shined brightly. At the same time, an auspicious cloud silently appeared in front of them. This auspicious cloud wasn't real, but rather illusionary. On top of the auspicious cloud sat a man and a woman. These 2 people were the celestial cloud couple, Wang Wei and Hu Wan. Wang Wei calmly looked at Ling Tianho and company. When he looked at Tian Yunzi, his pupils shrank an undetectable amount. Tian Yunzi's eyes were still closed. Even though the 2 of them were here, his expression didn't change at all. Wang Wei smiled and said, "Fellow cultivators, long time no see." Hu Wan also faintly smiled but didn't speak. Ling Tianho stared at Wang Wei and coldly said, "Wang Daoyu, I notice that the greedy wolf is with you. Give him to me, I have something to ask him." Wang Wei smiled at his lover and said, "Look, after all these years, not only has the Sword Saint's temper not weakened, it has become even stronger." Hu Wan's eyes revealed tenderness and she smiled. It is reasonable for fellow cultivator Sword Saint to care about his disciple. Ling Tianho's expression became even more gloomy. If it wasn't for the fact that he was extremely wary of these 2, he would have already attacked. Wang Wei slapped his bag of holding and 2 people flew out. One was Chun Long and the other was the greedy wolf. When Chun Long saw Ling Tianho, he was startled. His eyes were filled with ecstasy as he knelt down on the ground. His eyes became wet and he loudly said, "Teacher! It was this greedy wolf who harmed my junior apprentice brothers." The greedy wolf's expression remained the same and didn't change at all. After he appeared, he respectfully stood behind Wang Wei and Hu Wan like an old servant. Ling Tianho didn't look at Chun Long but stared at the greedy wolf with a sword-like gaze. He gloomily said, "Greedy wolf, you sure have guts." Although the greedy wolf's heart skipped a beat, his expression didn't change at all. He rolled his eyes and coldly looked at Chun Long and said, "Little baby, did the old man personally kill a person from your Delu sword sect?" Chun Long viciously stared at the greedy wolf. With his teacher here, he had the confidence to speak. He shouted, "Although you didn't personally kill him, you trapped us inside the purple mist. You have evil intentions. If not for that, how could my junior apprentice brothers have died?" The greedy wolf laughed and said, "The old man trapped all of you inside for the token, but did he harm a single hair on any of you? Instead of looking for the person who killed your junior apprentice brothers, you came to look for the old man. Ridiculous." Chun Long was about to speak, but Ling Tianho waved his sleeves and coldly said, "Chun Long, don't speak anymore." Ling Tianho looked at the greedy wolf with undisguised killing intent and said, word for word, "Greedy wolf, where is the token?" The greedy wolf wryly smiled and said, "You guys might not believe me, but the old man swore on his tens of thousands of years of cultivation that the token is no longer in my hands." Ling Tianho stared at the greedy wolf without a word and waited for him to continue. At this moment, aside from Tian Yunzi, who still had his eyes closed, all the other old monsters, including the blood ancestor, looked at the greedy wolf with sword-like gazes. The greedy wolf's scalp went numb. Aside from Chun Long, he was the weakest in this group. Now that he was being stared at by so many powerful cultivators, his mind trembled. After a long time, he took a deep breath and quickly said, "The heavenly fate sex Wang Lin stole the token. Martial nephew Chun Long can testify to this. Also, it was this person who killed the people of the Delu sword sect." Ling Tianho frowned and looked at Chun Long. Chun Long quickly said, "Teacher, disciple only saw Wang Lin, who obtained the token, being trapped by the greedy wolf. I don't know what happened after that. However, it is true that this person killed a few junior apprentice brothers." Just at this moment, Tian Yunzi opened his eyes and suddenly looked toward the east. You want to leave? Tian Yunzi's fingers moved faster and faster. His gaze seemed to penetrate the endless distance and landed directly on the entrance to the Water Demon country. His gaze penetrated the entrance and arrived at the corridor. His gaze didn't stop here but went straight toward the deep pit in the corridor. As Wang Lin fell, he immediately noticed it. His body flickered and he merged with the suction force, making him even faster. When Tian Yunzi's gaze penetrated the abyss, he felt the suction force pull him in. He hesitated for a moment before penetrating the suction force and going deeper. Tian Yunzi's spell immediately caught the attention of Ling Tianhou and company. Even the celestial cloud couple were shocked. At this moment, all of the old monster's divine senses followed Tian Yunzi's gaze and penetrated the tide abyss into the deep pit. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he slapped his bag of holding and the seven-star sword formation flew out. It rotated around his body and formed a force that fused with the suction force from the deep pit, causing him to move even faster. Wang Lin charged toward the bottom of the deep pit. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the vortex. Just at this moment, Tian Yunzi's gaze and the divine senses of all the old monsters arrived. Ling Tianhou immediately saw the seven-star sword formation and his anger was ignited. Tian Yunzi also saw Wang Lin. There was no longer any celestial slaughter art imprint on Wang Lin's body. This caused Tian Yunzi's eyes to become cold. Wang Lin stepped onto the vortex and then turned around. He coldly looked behind him as he sank into the vortex. A powerful force came out from the vortex and filled the area. This force was too strong. Even the divine senses of Tian Yunzi and company were forced to retreat. They could only watch as Wang Lin completely entered the vortex. It wasn't that they didn't want to stop him, but the power coming from the vortex was the connection between two star systems. This power was too strong. The moment Wang Lin's body entered the vortex, the Blood Ancestor's divine sense turned into a shadow and stared at Wang Lin. His expression was extremely gloomy. At that moment, he suddenly felt Yao Shishue's aura on Wang Lin's body. This aura revealed Yao Shishue's struggle and resistance. The Blood Ancestor could conclude that Yao Shishue's disappearance was closely related to Wang Lin. It was even possible that Yao Shishue was captured by Wang Lin. His expression was cold as he shouted, "Wang Lin, where is my daughter?" Before Wang Lin disappeared, his eyes lit up and he left behind these words. There aren't 3 fake caves but 4. Others might not understand Wang Lin's words, but how could the Blood Ancestor not understand? Only he and Yao Shishue knew about the 4th fake cave. Yao Shishue definitely wouldn't tell anyone about this secret. This was exactly what Wang Lin hoped for. Although he had left, he wanted to stir up the waters. If the Blood Ancestor hadn't discovered Yao Shishue's matter, then it wouldn't have mattered. Since he had discovered it, Wang Lin had to fight back. His goal was to make it impossible for the Blood Ancestor to personally chase after him because of Yao Shishue. He believed that, given the intelligence of these old monsters, his words would be able to elicit endless associations. Wang Lin had disappeared. The area around the vortex was completely silent. These old monsters all had gloomy expressions. They were already prepared, and after hearing Wang Lin's words and seeing the Blood Ancestor's reaction, they all looked toward the Blood Ancestor. The Blood Ancestor felt as if there were needles on his back. He pondered a bit and said, "There is indeed a 4th fake cave, but it has obviously been occupied by this Wang Lin. He also has the token, so if we don't capture him, we won't be able to enter the real cave." We already knew that this vortex was one of the entrances to the Luo Tian star system. However, the power inside the vortex is too strong. I don't know what kind of fortuitous encounter this Wang Lin had to be able to enter. We tried to enter back then, but we couldn't succeed. However, if we work together and only send one person in, we should be able to do it. Ling Tianho said in a serious tone, "Who will enter? If I were to enter, I'm afraid fellow cultivators would have doubts in their hearts, so the best candidate is the greedy wolf. Each of us will leave a restriction on him, so the greedy wolf won't be able to escape. He can only obediently enter and capture Wang Lin. Also, the greedy wolf's cultivation level is high enough to deal with Wang Lin." Tian Yunzi silently looked at the vortex and his eyes revealed a strange light. No one could see through his thoughts. "This is the first time I've seen something like this. Monthly votes. 0 daily gifts. Oh. I guess I should give it some face and remove the 0. If it were any other day, I wouldn't have said anything. But today is the anniversary of the Renegade Immortals homepage. If new readers were to see this, their first impression would be that this book isn't anything special. Monthly votes. 0 daily gifts. 0. Chapter 660. In the Luo Tian star system. The bright starlight illuminated this area. The Luo Tian star system was very large, and there were countless cultivation planets. Aside from a small portion of people in the Alliance star system, most cultivators didn't know about the existence of other star systems. However, the Luo Tian star system was different. Most cultivators knew that there was a star system below the wind, rain, thunder, and lightning celestial realms. This had a lot to do with the fact that the Cultivation Alliance was the most powerful force in the Alliance star system. Due to the Cultivation Alliance's concealment, a large portion of cultivators, including Wang Lin, believed that the Cultivation Alliance was the only force under the stars. Compared to the Luo Tian star system, it was much more free, and some of its secrets weren't sealed off too much. There was one other difference from the Alliance star system. There were no sects in the Luo Tian star system, only cultivation families. In the Luo Tian star system, bloodlines were the most important. Only by having the same blood flowing in their veins could they possess astonishing cohesiveness and form a force of their own. Several rays of light flew through the stars, and there were 4 people inside. Among the 4, there were 3 men and 1 woman. It was impossible to tell their ages, but they looked relatively young. The 4 of them had similar cultivation levels. Aside from the woman, who was at the mid-stage of soul transformation, the other 3 were at the early stage of soul transformation. In particular, the woman looked to be in her 20s. Although she was beautiful, she gave off a sense of coldness. However, there was no arrogance in her. Instead, she had the aura of a lady from a noble family. The 3 male cultivators were all very handsome, but at this moment, their expressions were gloomy and they would occasionally look behind them. One of the men quickly said, "Let's throw away the brilliant red stone, or else these dark fog insects will chase us." "Once we are trapped," as the woman flew, she softly said, "the dark fog insects will chase after the person who stole the brilliant red stone, even if they throw it away." Behind the 4 of them, a large amount of gray fog surged and surged as it whizzed over. If one looked closely, one could clearly see countless finger-sized flying insects hidden within the fog. The fog was formed from their bodies. Each of the 4 of them had a star compass under their feet. Although they were fast, if it weren't for the woman waving her sleeves from time to time, causing a large amount of crystalline light to float behind them and slightly obstruct them, the mist would have long since caught up to them. Even so, the woman looked more and more exhausted, and the fog behind her was getting closer and closer. In the end, as the fog surged, it caught up to the 4 of them and surrounded them. From afar, one would only be able to see the vast expanse of fog in the starry sky, but not the 4 people trapped within. These 3 men and 1 woman were from the Luo Tian star field's planet Ranyun. The woman was called Ran Yu, and the other 3 men were Ran Chen, Ran Feng, and Sun Xueshan. The 4 of them originally came here for a trial, but due to a strange combination of circumstances, they obtained a brilliant red stone. This attracted a large amount of dark fog insects, and they were chased for several days. In the end, they were surrounded. The fog released by the dark fog insects was extremely poisonous to cultivators. Just touching it would injure their origin soul and destroy their spells. It was extremely terrifying. The 4 of them were trapped inside the fog. If it wasn't for the woman's jade bracelet emitting a faint light of thunder, they would have already been devoured by the fog. Their origin souls would have dissipated and they would have died. The other 3 used their spells and treasures in an attempt to open a gap. However, the fog was too thick, so they couldn't charge out. As time passed, their celestial spiritual energy gradually decreased, and they didn't have many pills left. Ranyu frowned and softly said, "The dark fog insects are most afraid of thunder spells. I have already asked the family for help. This place is a bit far from the family, so if we hold on a bit longer, we will definitely be saved by a senior from the family that specializes in thunder spells." Her celestial spiritual energy was being consumed the fastest, and most of it was being absorbed by the bracelet. Without the bracelet, they would have been devoured by the fog in an instant. Sun Xueshan, the only male among the 4 of them that didn't share the same surname, bitterly smiled as he looked at the dark fog insects inside the dense fog. A trace of despair appeared in his heart. "I can only blame myself for being greedy. If I didn't pry out the brilliant red stone, we wouldn't be in this crisis." At this moment, a ray of silver light flew by outside the fog. This silver light looked like a dragon, and there was a young man sitting on it. This person was wearing a snow-white robe and his long hair was casually tied behind his head. His appearance was ordinary, but his skin was crystal clear. His eyes were deep and occasionally there would be a flash of lightning that added a bit of sharpness to them. He was Wang Lin. After Wang Lin entered the vortex, it was as if he had entered a transfer array. When he reappeared, he was in another part of the star system. There were only bright nebulae around him, and there was no sign of anyone. Wang Lin was unfamiliar with this star system because this wasn't his hometown, the Alliance star system, but the Luo Yun star system under the Thunder celestial realm. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin took out the star compass with a hint of confusion as he wandered through this unfamiliar star system. The gray fog in the distance caught Wang Lin's attention. There was a flash of silver light and he arrived before it. There was a flash of lightning in his eyes, and he immediately saw the strangeness of the fog and the 4 people trapped inside. Under his gaze, the dark fog insects inside the fog trembled. It was as if Wang Lin's gaze was solid, and they all avoided him. As a result, there was an empty space. The 4 people trapped inside were startled. Ran Yu's eyes flashed and her heart was filled with shock. Just one gaze was enough to force the dark fog insects to retreat. This kind of ability caused her heart to tremble. Her beautiful eyes looked over and saw Wang Lin on the silver light outside the fog. The despair in Sun Xueshan's eyes immediately disappeared. He clasped his hands and loudly said, "Senior, I'm from planet Ranyun's Sun family. I hope Senior can help. Junior will definitely thank you." Ran Chen and Ran Feng also revealed looks of joy. They respectfully clasped their hands and spoke sincerely, hoping to be saved. Ran Yu looked at the young man on the silver light and her eyebrows relaxed a bit. She softly said, "Senior, Junior is from planet Ranyun's Ran family and is trapped by the dark fog insects. If Senior can help, the Ran family will definitely thank you." Wang Lin's expression was calm as he looked at the 4 people before withdrawing his gaze. The fog immediately surged and devoured the empty space. Exclamations came from inside. The expressions of the 4 people inside the fog immediately became ugly. Sun Xueshan quickly shouted, "Senior, we have a brilliant red stone here. Senior, we have a crimson radiant stone here. If Senior can save us, we will use this stone to thank you." Wang Lin didn't know what a brilliant red stone was, so he naturally didn't have any temptation. He looked at the fog and there was a flash of contemplation in his eyes. He was too unfamiliar with the Luo Tian star system. He had to understand it as soon as possible before he could go to the Xiang family the woman in the scroll painting had mentioned. The 4 people trapped within the fog were unable to clearly see what was happening outside. At this moment, other than Ran Yu, the other 3 all revealed nervous expressions. Anxiety was present in their eyes. Ran Yu frowned. She didn't have many pills left in her bag of holding, so she wouldn't be able to last much longer. If she couldn't wait for her family to come, the consequences would be unimaginable. She clenched her teeth and said, "Senior, Before she could finish speaking, Wang Lin's voice came from inside the fog. "Where is planet Ranyun?" The 4 of them were startled. Sun Xueshan quickly said, "It's about 2 days away from here. It's in the north. If Senior wants to go, then we juniors can lead the way to repay Senior for saving our lives." Wang Lin sat on the silver light and his eyes lit up. He raised his right hand and pointed at the void. A bolt of lightning suddenly appeared from his origin soul and shot out from Wang Lin's right hand. When the fog was dispersed by his gaze, Wang Lin guessed that these insects were afraid of lightning spells. At this moment, he pointed a finger, and a bolt of lightning instantly flew out from the tip of his finger. With a thunderous roar, the lightning was like a lightning dragon. It turned into a boundless pressure and suddenly charged into the fog. The dark fog insects inside the fog immediately cried out and retreated. At the same time, a large amount of fog came out from their bodies and charged at the lightning. If it was a normal lightning spell, the fog would have weakened a bit. After all, although the dark fog insects were afraid of lightning, the poison in their fog was extremely strong. However, this lightning wasn't ordinary lightning but real heavenly lightning. It was the instinct of Wang Lin's origin soul after he fused with the ancient thunder dragon. The thunder rumbled and the fog completely dissipated. Lightning swam around, and a large number of dark fog insects immediately retreated. They could clearly feel the pressure from the thunder. To these dark fog insects, who were originally afraid of thunder, this thunder contained the true might of thunder. It was like their natural enemy, and they quickly retreated. In the blink of an eye, as the lightning dissipated, all of the dark fog insects retreated far away. Ran Yu's group of 4 escaped and flew next to Wang Lin. The 4 of them all felt like they had just survived a disaster, but their minds were even more shaken. Sun Xueshan's gaze toward Wang Lin was filled with shock. As someone from the Luo Yun star system, he was no stranger to lightning spells. Although he didn't know how to use them, the Luo Yun star system was connected to the Thunder Celestial Realm. Here, lightning spells were the most powerful spells. His shock stemmed from the trace of true thunder might contained within that bolt of lightning. He couldn't imagine what kind of thunder divine ability it was that could actually contain a trace of thunder might within an illusionary bolt of lightning. This was something that even the elders and ancestors of the family could not do. Ran Yu and the other 2 men from the Ran family were also shocked. Their eyes were filled with shock, especially Ran Yu. She sucked in a breath of cold air and her eyes suddenly lit up as she looked at Wang Lin. After all, she was at the mid-stage of soul transformation and her status in the family was higher than the other 3, so she knew some secret. At this moment, her mind was shaken. Combined with the power of the lightning, she took a deep breath and respectfully said, "Junior is a 9th-generation member of the Ran family. Is Senior the Thunder Celestial Messenger?" After she spoke, Sun Yunshan's expression changed greatly and he thought, "Yes, this person must be the Thunder Celestial Messenger." But why would the Thunder Celestial Messenger go to planet Ranyun? Today is the first anniversary recommendation on the front page of the rebellious celestial realm. The number of favorites is increasing very quickly. Everyone, don't let the new readers be disappointed before they even read the book. Monthly votes, recommendations, rewards, reviews, begging. To be continued. Chapter 661. Thunder Celestial Messenger. Wang Lin's expression didn't change at all as he calmly looked at the four of them. He didn't confirm or deny it. Although Ran Yu was shocked, she quickly recovered. She saw that Wang Lin didn't speak and had some speculations in her heart. Although the spell of the person before her was similar, the status of the Thunder Celestial Messenger was very high, so she had her suspicions. Moreover, what surprised her the most was that she couldn't see through the cultivation of the person before her. This made her even more hesitant about Wang Lin's identity. As for the other three, especially Sun Xueshan, he was extremely respectful toward Wang Lin. It could even be described as fanatical. After he heard Ran Yu's words, he was sure that the person before him was the Thunder Celestial Messenger. Sun Xueshan respectfully said, "If Senior wants to go to planet Ranyun, then Junior is willing to lead the way." Wang Lin nodded. He sat on the silver dragon and flew north. Sun Xueshan quickly followed, and Ran Yu and company followed. After flying for a while, Wang Lin frowned. The four of them were too slow. At this speed, it would take 7 days. He pondered a bit and slowed down the star compass to keep pace with the four of them. There was no need for him to rush in this strange Luo Tian star system. He might as well take this opportunity to learn more about the Luo Tian star system so it would be easier for him to act in the future. Wang Lin calmly asked, "Are there any other cultivation planets near planet Ranyun?" Sun Xueshan was secretly looking at the silver dragon-shaped star compass under Wang Lin's feet. His eyes were filled with envy. When he heard Wang Lin's question, he quickly said, "There are. Planet Ranyun belongs to one of the 5 main planets of the northern domain, Planet Thousand Illusion. There are many other planets around it." Although he was a bit puzzled as to why the other party didn't know about this, he remembered that there were too many cultivation planets like Planet Ranyun in the Luo Tian star system, so he understood. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, but his heart skipped a beat. Thousand Illusions Planet. Thousand Illusions. This name is very familiar. Back then, Rosefinch's disciple, Lu Mei, cultivated the Thousand Illusions merciless Tao. There shouldn't be any connection. After all, they are in 2 different star fields. Northern region. It looks like the Luo Tian star field is divided into 4 regions: north, south, east, and west. I'm currently in the northern region. Thanks to Sun Xueshan's words, Wang Lin had a vague impression of the Luo Tian star system. At this moment, Ran Yu said softly, "Senior saved us, but I still don't know your name." "Su Mu." Wang Lin said calmly. He knew that Tian Yunzi and the others would catch up at any time, so he hid his real name. Surnamed Su. Ran Yu's eyelids trembled imperceptibly and her mind shook. She quickly lowered her head. She felt that Wang Lin's identity was even more mysterious. Surnamed Su is a common surname in the northern region's Thousand Illusions planet. The power of the Su family can be said to reach the heavens. For this person to call himself Su, could he be someone from the Su family? If she hadn't guessed Wang Lin's identity before, then she wouldn't have thought too much about it. But she had made too many guesses about Wang Lin's identity, so she had become paranoid. Hearing Wang Lin call himself Su Mu, even Sun Xueshan's pupils shrank, and he became even more respectful. "May I ask where Senior Su comes from?" Ran Yu raised her head and asked. As soon as she said those words, she regretted them. She was a junior and saying such words could easily arouse the other party's disgust. She quickly said, "Senior, please don't take offense. This junior knows she was wrong." Wang Lin calmly looked at this woman. This woman was very smart and looked like the daughter of a big family. From the way she spoke, it was clear she was the leader of the 4. "Planet Dong Lin, do you know about it?" Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. His tone was calm, and it was impossible to tell if he was happy or angry. "Dong Lin." Sun Xueshan's expression changed greatly. His gaze toward Wang Lin quickly turned from shock to horror. He subconsciously took a few steps back and his face turned pale. He wasn't the only one. Aside from Ranyu, the other two men's faces also turned pale. Their gazes toward Wang Lin were filled with terror. Even Ranyu sucked in a breath of cold air. All of the speculations she had about Wang Lin were swept away. The behavior of the four of them didn't match their cultivation levels. Although the soul transformation cultivators Wang Lin had seen weren't as cunning as the ascendant cultivators, they were all very cunning and wouldn't be easily moved. However, the four of them were a bit immature compared to them. Combining everything he knew, Wang Lin suddenly had a feeling that many of the family members of these families had rarely experienced bloodshed. Without experiencing countless life and death situations, no matter how high their cultivation levels were, they wouldn't be able to become proud eagles. Wang Lin's expression didn't change. His tone was calm as his gaze swept past the four of them. "Do you know about planet Donglin?" Ranyu's face gradually turned pale and she respectfully said, "Senior, planet Donglin is the #1 planet in the eastern domain of the Luotian star system. This planet has another name, planet Donglin. There is another strange thing about this planet, and that is that it is very ethereal. Sometimes it appears and sometimes it disappears. There was one thing Ranyu didn't say. Anyone who came from planet Donglin was a ruthless person. There was once a cultivator from planet Donglin who slaughtered all the families on a cultivation planet. Planet Donglin was a terrifying nightmare for most people in the Luotian star system. After that, even Sun Xueshan didn't dare to look at Wang Lin again. He was very anxious and didn't know why this Su Mu was going to planet Ranyun. This question also became stronger and stronger in the hearts of the three people named Ran. The four of them became slower and slower, and they were somewhat unwilling to take Wang Lin to planet Ranyun. However, although this was the case, the four of them didn't dare to refuse. They could only brace themselves. Although they were nervous, they still headed toward planet Ranyun. In their eyes, although Wang Lin rarely spoke, he seemed to know everything. There were several times when the four of them wanted to change directions, but they would meet Wang Lin's cold gaze. Several days later, a blue planet appeared in Wang Lin's divine sense. It was obvious that the ocean occupied most of the planet. From a distance, planet Ranyun was very beautiful, and it gave off dense spiritual energy that nourished everything. From the expressions of the four people, Wang Lin knew that this was planet Ranyun. The spiritual energy on this planet far surpassed Wang Lin's hometown, Rosefinch. Wang Lin took a step forward and the star compass turned into a dazzling, silver light that entered planet Ranyun. Then the silver light disappeared and Wang Lin stood under the blue sky. Here, the spiritual energy coming from the ocean below was even more dense. Wang Lin took a deep breath, then his body flickered and he disappeared without a trace. The faces of the four people leading the way were ashen. After returning to planet Ranyun, they immediately rushed back to their families and told them everything they saw along the way just in case. When Wang Lin entered planet Ranyun, he was on the other side of the Luotian star system, in the Alliance star system. At this moment, a dark ray of light was flying through the Alliance star system. This ray of light gave off a terrifying aura. Wherever it went, it was like lightning. Inside the ray of light was an old man. This person had an arrogant expression, and there was a flash of viciousness on his thin face. What was surprising was that this person didn't use any treasures like the star compass. Every step he took made it seem like he was teleporting. He wasn't alone. There was a woman by his side. This woman was so beautiful that she could be said to be peerless. Her lips were red, her eyebrows were like a frown, and her phoenix eyes were incomparably beautiful. Just the movement of her beautiful eyes was enough to take one's breath away. Her hair was 3 feet long, and one was coiled up behind her head. There was a white jade hairpin with 2 butterflies playing in it. The other 2 strands of hair casually floated over her shoulders. She was dressed in a light-colored palace robe embroidered with flowers and a green silk skirt scattered with flowers. Every step she took was elegant and graceful, and she looked dazzling. This woman's appearance was not inferior to red butterflies from back then. It would not be an exaggeration to say that she was a national beauty. In addition, compared to her appearance, this woman had an aura of charm that made her even more charming. She followed the old man, but she didn't use her own speed. Instead, she was guided by the old man's celestial spiritual energy. Otherwise, even though she was at the ascendant stage, she wouldn't be able to keep up with the old man's speed. As she flew, she looked back at the stars behind her, and her eyes revealed a strange light. It was as if she was reminiscing and sighing, but it was even more complicated. "We're about to leave." The woman let out a sigh. "Mayer, are you still a bit reluctant?" The arrogant old man looked at the woman with a hint of kindness in his eyes. "Disciple grew up here, so I'm indeed reluctant to leave." The woman played with the hair beside her ear, nodded, and pursed her lips. The old man smiled. "There's no need to be reluctant. Once your cultivation reaches a certain level, you can come back." Although the old man didn't find that treasure on this trip to the Alliance star system, it was worth it to accept you as my disciple. The woman smiled and didn't speak. However, as she looked at the stars behind her, the complicated expression in her eyes became even stronger. The old man retracted his gaze. The woman in front of him was someone he had met by chance a few hundred years ago. He immediately recognized that she cultivated the thousand illusion merciless Tao. Furthermore, she seemed to be developing towards the thousand illusion heavenly demon Tao. This discovery immediately shocked him. There were many cultivation methods for the ruthless Tao regardless of the star system. The main thing was to comprehend one's mentality, but it was rare for someone to reach the thousand illusion Tao on their own. If that was it, it wouldn't be a big deal, but what really made the old man want to accept her as his disciple was the faint sign that she was developing toward the 10,000 illusion heavenly demon Tao. As the head elder of the Huan family on planet Thousand Illusion in the northern region of the Luo Tian star system, he had seen many juniors, but aside from a few people, no one could compare to this woman's talent. Even those few people were lacking in terms of potential. Therefore, the old man immediately made up his mind to accept this woman as his disciple. After being together for hundreds of years, he loved this disciple even more. For her, he even gave up on searching for the heaven-defying bead. Instead, he took her back to the Luo Tian star system. 3 things. 1. Apologize to everyone. In yesterday's 2 chapters, I changed the name of the Luo Tian star system to the Luo Yun star system. 2. The homepage of Qidian has launched an activity to turn the 10 most voted novels into audiobook. Everyone can go take a look. It's called Voting Glory. Renegade Immortal was lucky enough to be nominated. On that page, you can vote 3 times for each book. Although the chance of winning isn't high, it's still very interesting to think about audio novels. 3. It's still about recommendation vote. Let Renegade Immortal have more recommendation votes. Chapter 662. Star System of the Luo Tian, Planet Ranyun. The moment Wang Lin appeared, 3 powerful divine senses swept by. The moment they arrived, Wang Lin's figure disappeared without a trace. 2 of the divine senses seemed to dread each other, so they didn't talk. They each scanned the area before withdrawing their divine senses. Only the other divine sense forcibly swept the entire planet. When it didn't find anything, it let out a cold snort and disappeared. That person's snort spread across planet Ranyun and also entered Wang Lin's ears. Wang Lin's figure appeared on a plain in the northern part of planet Ranyun. He looked up at the sky and muttered, 1 mid-stage ascendant and 2 early-stage ascendant cultivators. This Luo Tian star system is very interesting. This cultivation planet is filled with spiritual energy, but it only has 3 forces, and each force only has 1 ascendant cultivator. If planet Ranyun was in the Cultivation Alliance, it would have been robbed. If it wasn't occupied by an old monster of the 2nd step, it would have been moved by a rank 6 cultivation country. No matter what, there shouldn't be only 3 ascendant cultivators on this planet. As Wang Lin pondered, he continued to withdraw his aura. In the blink of an eye, there was no longer any ascendant aura coming from his body. It looked like he was only at the late stage of core formation. Wang Lin's cultivation level was already at the early stage of ascendant, and with his strange origin soul, unless someone with a higher cultivation level was close enough, they wouldn't be able to see through his concealment with their divine senses. Of course, if it was an old monster that had taken the 2nd step, it would be an exception. I believe no one will find me hiding here. Even if Tian Yunzi and company catch up, they won't think I'm hiding on a cultivation planet like this. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. They were no longer sharp and became weaker. In the end, aside from the black and white in his eyes, there was no longer any dazzling light. From the expressions of those 4 little fellows, the forces on planet Donglin are extremely powerful. I can't go there before I have enough cultivation. The corner of Wang Lin's lips curled into a smile. His entire being was like a spring breeze, without any trace of coldness. As he stepped forward, an ordinary-looking flying sword flew out from his bag of holding. It landed at his feet and transformed into a beam of sword light that shot off into the distance. As he flew, his appearance slowly changed. Before long, he had completely changed his appearance. At this moment, even if it was someone he knew, they would not be able to recognize him. Most cultivators were proficient in this sort of appearance-changing divine ability, but in the eyes of high-grade cultivators, this divine ability was of little value. Usually, people would be able to see through it with a single glance. In fact, if they were facing some cultivators with divine ability, they would be able to see through their true appearance with a single glance. However, Wang Lin was different. He didn't change his appearance himself, but rather used the divine ability of the celestial guard in his body. As a result, there weren't many people who could see through him. After flying for a while, a city appeared in front of them. This city was completely surrounded by azure boulders, and it gave off a majestic aura. Above the city gate there were 2 large words, Sun Family. A few kilometers outside of the city, Wang Lin put away his flying sword and landed on the ground. He dusted off the dust from his clothes and calmly walked forward. Perhaps it was because they saw that Wang Lin was at the late stage of core formation, but the inspection at the gate wasn't too harsh. They told Wang Lin that there was a cave specially prepared for foreign cultivators in the northern part of the city. Wang Lin paid some spirit stones for a temporary residence in the city and stepped into the city controlled by the Sun family. Most of the people in the city were mortals, but cultivators were also common. On both sides of the street there were all kinds of shops that sold all kinds of things that cultivators commonly used. Of course, there were also some shops that were prepared for mortals. As Wang Lin walked on the street, he didn't look uncomfortable at all. It was as if he was originally a citizen of this city. Since he had decided to settle down here, he was going to find a place to live. Stepping into the northern part of the city, Wang Lin immediately felt the quietness and density of spiritual energy. Looking around, there were countless single rooms in the northern part of the city, and each room was protected by restrictions. Next to the entrance, there was a restriction that prevented mortals from entering. Next to the entrance was a 30-foot-tall boulder with 7 or 8 black tokens hanging on it. Underneath the boulder sat a nascent soul cultivator. His eyes were closed and he was cultivating. 2 streams of air came out of his nostrils and spread out. Wang Lin stood outside the entrance and looked inside. The restriction at the entrance was very simple in his eyes. He didn't even need to break it. Just stepping inside wouldn't cause any reaction from the restriction. As he was looking around, the young man under the boulder opened his eyes. He glanced at Wang Lin and said, "There are only 8 empty rooms, which one do you want?" Wang Lin's expression was the same as usual. He gently asked, "What's the difference?" The young man revealed an impatient expression and said, "The upper room costs 1,000 low-quality spirit stones a year, the lower room costs 100. Wang Lin pondered for a moment, then he took out 100 spirit stones and put them to the side. The young man's eyes were filled with contempt. He waved his sleeve and put away the spirit stones. He grabbed a token from the boulder behind him and threw it at Wang Lin. He said, "The 5th room on the west side, go." After doing this, the young man closed his eyes again and seized the time to cultivate. Wang Lin caught the token and looked down at it. There were 2 restrictions on the token, one of which was used to pass through the entrance. Withdrawing his gaze, Wang Lin took the token and walked into the entrance. The moment he entered, the young man under the boulder opened his eyes and said, "Another foreign cultivator. He must be preparing to borrow my Sun family's spiritual energy to form his nascent soul. Forming a nascent soul isn't that easy. This person's talent is ordinary. I'm afraid the only reason he could reach core formation is because of pills." The young man's words were naturally heard by Wang Lin. He looked back and continued to walk forward. After a while, he arrived at the 5th room on the west side. The house was very unique. It looked very simple, but it was filled with spiritual energy. Wang Lin walked into the house with the token. After looking around, he was very satisfied with the house. There was only a bed in the room, a mattress for meditation, a pill furnace in the side room, and a secluded meditation room. Overall, it wasn't very large, but it was very simple and elegant. Outside the room, Wang Lin waved his right hand and slightly improved the restrictions in the room, increasing the power of the restrictions by more than 10 times. Then, he sat cross-legged in the room and took a deep breath of the rich spiritual energy. His expression relaxed as the spiritual energy flowed through his veins. After a while, Wang Lin let out a breath of impure air and his eyes were filled with emotion. "It's been a long time since I've cultivated. Unfortunately, no matter how rich the spiritual energy here is, it can't increase my cultivation level." Wang Lin began to ponder. Almost all the celestial jades in his bag of holding were used up when he reached the ascendant stage. There was very little left, so it wasn't enough to satisfy his daily needs. There are still 5 drops of celestial liquid left. Although I swallowed 4 drops when I ate the celestial ascension fruit, which allowed me to have an endless supply of celestial spiritual energy, it won't last long. I fear that in a few more years, the celestial liquid will settle in my body and I won't be able to have an endless supply of celestial spiritual energy. In addition, 1 drop of celestial liquid can help me reach the ascendant stage, but after reaching the ascendant stage, the amount of celestial spiritual energy required will increase by several fold. Even if I swallow it, it won't have the same effect as before. It's a waste to swallow it. It's best to use it when I'm injured or when I need to have an endless supply of celestial spiritual energy for a short period of time. As a result, obtaining celestial jades that I need to cultivate daily is the most important thing. The sky outside darkened, causing the inside of the room to become dark as well. Wang Lin casually waved his hand and the candlesticks in the room were lit up. There was a soft crackling sound as the room was shrouded in candlelight. There was a green bead the size of a fist embedded in the ceiling. When the candlelight rose in the room, the wisps of smoke were absorbed by the bead. Gradually, the wisps of smoke within the bead became faint, causing light to slowly appear within it. This phenomenon attracted Wang Lin's interest. He had never seen such an ingenious design before. He raised his head to look at the green bead and saw that it was getting brighter and brighter. Half an incense stick of time later, the bead shined brightly. The green light was very gentle, but it caused all the candlesticks to go out. The light from the bead became the only source of light in the room. This bead contains 3 formations that form a small spell that condenses smoke into heat. The Luotian star system is much stronger than the cultivation alliance in this area. A faint sandalwood fragrance came from the bead. If one smelled it, they would feel relaxed. The 3rd formation is this sandalwood incense. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. This incense was not poisonous and could actually speed up a cultivator's cultivation. It was a rare alchemy material. As he sat inside the room, the outside world was completely silent. Wang Lin pondered for a long time. His eyes lit up and an idea appeared in his mind. However, after pondering for a bit, he erased this idea. Stealing is a bad idea. Also, the amount of celestial jades I need is not something an ordinary cultivator can have, unless they are at the ascendant stage or belong to a family in the Luotian star system. However, if I do this, I will have to leave planet Ranyun and find another place, which is not appropriate. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin raised his head. He had already made up his mind. He slapped his bag of holding, and some refining materials flew out. He spat out a mouthful of origin energy and surrounded the materials. In an instant, the materials melted and turned into 3 molds according to Wang Lin's command. One was a flying sword, one was a bronze mirror, and one was a hairpin. Wang Lin's hands formed a seal and restrictions went into them. These 3 treasures gradually gave off a powerful pressure. Because they were refined by Wang Lin's origin soul, there was a trace of lightning moving inside them. After putting in the restrictions, Wang Lin pondered a bit. He thought back to the cultivator with the time domain he encountered in Suzaku. With his current cultivation level and his own Tao, he was able to imitate that cultivator a bit. He waved his right hand, causing the bronze mirror to fall and the time domain to enter it. Then Wang Lin began to meditate again. This time, it was Lu Mei's 1000 illusion ruthless domain. Various illusions flashed through his mind. Finally, they turned into a ray of light that shot out from Wang Lin's eyes and entered the hairpin. As for the last flying sword, Wang Lin didn't place any domain on it. Instead, he placed a teleportation seal on it. Chapter 663. He waved his right hand in the air and the 3 treasures landed in Wang Lin's palm. They slowly rotated and gave off a dazzling light. They looked very dazzling. The quality of these 3 treasures couldn't compare to real celestial treasures. They weren't even low quality. However, they could still be controlled by celestial spiritual energy, and the domain contained within them could be used. Even without celestial spiritual energy, cultivators below the soul transformation stage could use their own spiritual energy to control these treasures. However, their power would be much weaker. Wang Lin softly said, "Pseudo-celestial treasures." These were the highest quality treasures he could make. After all, Wang Lin only had a rough understanding of treasure forging. Most of his knowledge came from the jade that Suzaku gave him in Hofun. Normally, it was impossible for him to make these treasures, but Wang Lin had his own Tao and his cultivation had reached the ascendant stage. More importantly, he had control over restrictions. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the 3 treasures. He wasn't satisfied with these 3 treasures. After pondering a bit, he picked up the bronze mirror and his eyes began to deduce restrictions. If I can make this treasure have an inheritance effect, its price will increase a lot. Wang Lin closed his eyes and continued to deduce in his heart. Normal treasures only had divine sense imprinted on them to allow the user to freely control them. However, once the treasure was stolen and the divine sense was erased, it would become the other party's. Only inheritance treasures required not only the owner's divine sense but also the inheritance method. Even if an outsider obtained it, they wouldn't be able to control it. Therefore, treasures with inheritance effects were far more valuable than treasures of the same rank. Wang Lin's 1 billion soul flag and god-slaying war chariot were treasures of this type. He closed his eyes and began to ponder the secret of inheritance. However, the method to refine an inheritance treasure could only be obtained by those great grandmasters. Such a method would not be easily passed on to outsiders, much less refined. Therefore, this kind of treasure was rare. Not long after, Wang Lin opened his eyes. He frowned and murmured, "Inheritance. I can't comprehend it. Perhaps I've misunderstood this problem. I won't try to figure out how to inherit it. Instead, I'll add a special seal to this treasure and sell the seal incantation in the jade slip. This way, although it won't be a true inheritance, it will have the effect of an inheritance." Wang Lin's eyes flickered. The main point of this pseudo-inheritance was the strength of the seal. If he could make the seal so strong that no one could break it, then although it wasn't a true inheritance, it would still have the effect of a true inheritance. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. The key to this pseudo-inheritance was the strength of the seal. If he could make the seal so strong that no one could break it, then although it wouldn't be a true inheritance, it would have the effect of a true inheritance. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin looked around the room and his gaze landed on one of the candlesticks. He pointed with his left hand and the candlestick was lit up. Just as the smoke was about to be absorbed by the bead on the ceiling, Wang Lin reached out and grabbed the smoke. He placed it on the restriction rune. The rune strangely melted into a strand of black smoke that entered the copper mirror. Then he slapped his bag of holding and took out a piece of jade. With a thought, he immediately left the seal to break the restriction inside. After putting away the copper mirror, Wang Lin didn't place this pseudo-inheritance on the other two treasures. The sky outside was getting brighter, so Wang Lin closed his eyes and began to cultivate. The rising sun shrouded the earth and slowly dispelled the darkness. Wang Lin opened his eyes, got up and walked out the door. The sun shined down on his body and a warm feeling entered his mind. The spiritual energy in the world was very dense at this moment, causing one's mind to be refreshed. A sense of tranquility filled his heart. Wang Lin's body moved and he walked forward. When he passed the exit, the young man under the rock was still cultivating and absorbing spiritual energy. It wasn't until Wang Lin was far away that the young man opened his eyes and they were filled with disdain. Which foreign cultivator doesn't spend all day cultivating to absorb as much spiritual energy as possible? This person's talent is ordinary, after all, hard work can make up for it. However, this person gave up on the moment when the spiritual energy is the densest. This is really sad. I can say with certainty that he will never be able to reach the nascent soul stage. The young man withdrew his gaze and closed his eyes to cultivate again. His speed seemed to be a bit faster than before, as if the spiritual energy he was absorbing was stolen from someone else. When Wang Lin arrived yesterday, he saw some free markets on the west side of the city. There were many cultivators there trading treasures and materials. There aren't many soul transformation cultivators in this kind of market, so it's not the best place to sell. Wang Lin pondered for a bit. He turned to look at the young man under the rock and walked toward him. Wang Lin's expression was gentle as he clasped his hands and asked, "Fellow cultivator, do you know where I can trade high-quality magic treasures?" The young man opened his eyes. His face was filled with disdain and impatience as he coldly said, "The whole treasure pavilion on the east side of the city." With that, he no longer looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin faintly smiled and turned to leave. The young man sneered. A little core formation cultivator wants to trade for high-quality magic treasures. I'm afraid this person doesn't even have the qualifications to enter the whole treasure pavilion. After leaving the north side of the city, Wang Lin walked toward the east side of the city. There weren't many mortals in the east side of the city, and most of them were cultivators. The shops here were quite grand, and they were lined up on both sides of the street. There were even some shops that had spirit stones that were as tall as a person placed outside. These spirit stones hadn't been refined, so they were still in their original shape. The spiritual energy they gave off was extremely dense. Wang Lin revealed a look of interest. The decorations outside the shop clearly told everyone the strength of the shop. It has to be said that ordinary cultivators couldn't dig out spirit stones of this level from a spirit vein. The size of the spirit stones was also related to the shop. Some of the spirit stones outside the shop were 6 feet tall, like a small mountain. Anyone who looked at them would feel a sense of majesty. There was even one shop that had a high-quality spirit stone. This discovery immediately aroused Wang Lin's interest. He took a closer look at the shop. It wasn't very big, only 2 stories. Although it didn't look majestic, it was very elegant. On the signboard were the words, "Green Bamboo Pavilion," written in flamboyant calligraphy. Wang Lin didn't go in. Instead, he withdrew his gaze and walked forward. At the end of the east side of the city, there was a huge pavilion that seemed to be made of nature. There were also spirit stones outside the pavilion, but there were 8 of them. The 8 high-quality spirit stones, each 9 feet tall, seemed to be arranged in a formation that emitted a dense spiritual energy. This pavilion seemed to have fused with its surroundings. At a glance, it actually gave off a somewhat illusory feeling. On top of it, there was a long spirit stone with 3 large words carved into it, "Whole Treasure Pavilion." A powerful pressure spread out. There was even a hidden layer of protection inside the whole treasure pavilion that prevented divine sense from entering. Wang Lin didn't force his way in. He wasn't too interested in this whole treasure pavilion. Wang Lin stepped in, but he immediately frowned. He saw a middle-aged man walk out from the whole treasure pavilion. This person stopped Wang Lin's path and looked him up and down. He calmly said, "Could it be that fellow cultivator doesn't know the rules of my whole treasure pavilion?" "Oh? What are the rules?" Wang Lin's expression was calm as he calmly said. The middle-aged man was very surprised when he saw how calm Wang Lin was. He had seen too many cultivators, and other than some old monsters with powerful cultivation, very few cultivators could be this calm under the pressure of the whole treasure pavilion. My whole treasure pavilion has 2 rules: no entry, no exit. Those below nascent soul cannot enter. Those without 100,000 high-quality spirit stones cannot enter. Those without a transaction cannot leave. Wang Lin frowned. The middle-aged man saw Wang Lin's expression and understood. He said, "Do you have 100,000 spirit stones?" Wang Lin didn't have a lot of spirit stones in his bag of holding. After all, ever since he reached soul formation, he mainly used celestial jade. The middle-aged man smiled. "Fellow cultivator doesn't meet the rules of my whole treasure pavilion, so you can't enter. Even if you enter, you won't be able to meet the conditions to leave. Please leave." "Do you accept this treasure?" Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he looked at the man. He slapped his bag of holding and the refined flying sword appeared. The middle-aged man glanced at the flying sword with a hint of mockery in his eyes. He could tell at a glance that this flying sword was refined using very poor methods. There was nothing special about it. Even the sword light on it was very dim. He didn't even need to use his divine sense to check it. He could tell with his naked eye that this flying sword was very poor. It probably wasn't even a low-quality magic treasure. He had been in charge of inspecting people who entered the whole treasure pavilion for many years, so he naturally had good eyesight. Also, in his view, there were too many low-level cultivators like this person who thought they had a good treasure and then brought it to the whole treasure pavilion to trade. He had already classified Wang Lin as one of them. This flying sword magic treasure must have its own spell, but the middle-aged man didn't dare to be interested. He smiled and shook his head. "I won't accept it, please leave." Wang Lin coldly looked at the middle-aged man before turning to leave. Before he left, he looked into the eyes of the middle-aged man, who felt as if cold water had been poured over his head. A tremor ran through his body, and his gaze was like 10,000-year-old ice. His nascent soul trembled, and was on the verge of collapsing. Terrified, the middle-aged man took a few steps back. His face was extremely pale as he stared at Wang Lin's back, unable to speak. He vaguely felt that the flying sword was a bit unusual. At this moment, an old voice came from the whole treasure pavilion. "Lu Feng, what's wrong?" The middle-aged man quickly bowed and said, "Old son, a cultivator just came to sell a magic treasure." An old man walked out from the whole treasure pavilion. This person had a hunched back and looked very old. His face was filled with the marks of time. There wasn't much light in his eyes as he looked at the middle-aged man and calmly asked, "What magic treasure?" The next chapter will be a bit later, I'm writing now. Chapter 664. The middle-aged man respectfully said, "It's a flying sword. Junior has seen it and it looks very ordinary. Perhaps it really has some special abilities, but it shouldn't be too strong. This kind of treasure doesn't conform to our whole treasure pavilion's rules." He didn't dare to show any disrespect to the old man before him. Although this old man was only at the early stage of soul formation, his status in the whole treasure pavilion was very high. The middle-aged man also vaguely knew that this old man was once at the mid-stage of soul transformation, but he was too heavily injured and fell to the soul formation stage. The old man looked at Wang Lin's disappearing figure and his cloudy eyes revealed a hint of doubt. However, he quickly shook his head and returned to the whole treasure pavilion. "This back view is somewhat familiar." The old man's figure seemed extremely tired. He returned to the building and sat on a rocking chair in the side hall. He rubbed his chest bitterly and let out a long sigh. He looked at the ground in silence. Wang Lin left the whole treasure pavilion and walked toward the elegant green bamboo pavilion. Although this pavilion wasn't big, it had a simple yet elegant feeling. Stepping inside, Wang Lin looked around. There were wooden boxes placed against the walls, and inside the boxes were small open boxes. Inside were yellow silk cloths that contained all kinds of magic treasures and pills. There was a young scholar sitting inside the shop. He was holding an ancient book in his hand and was reading it with great interest. When he noticed Wang Lin come in, he put down the book and smiled. "Although my shop isn't big, it does have a lot of things. What does fellow Taoist need?" This person was at the early stage of soul formation. When he saw Wang Lin, he didn't show any arrogance like the whole treasure pavilion. Instead, he was easygoing and enthusiastic. Wang Lin faintly smiled. He slapped his bag of holding and the flying sword appeared in his hand. He asked, "Fellow Taoist, can you accept this sword?" The young man looked at the flying sword and frowned. He bitterly smiled. "Fellow Taoist, this sword, forget it, can you let me take a closer look at it?" The young man's attitude was very easygoing. Wang Lin smiled and pushed forward with his right hand. The flying sword immediately flew toward the young man. The young man scanned it with his divine sense and said, "This sword is very ordinary, I'm afraid." And halfway through his sentence, the young man's eyes widened as he stared at the ordinary-looking flying sword in his hand. His eyes were filled with shock. He suddenly raised his head, looked at Wang Lin and quickly said, "Fellow cultivator, the spell inside the flying sword." Wang Lin smiled. "You will know once you try." The young man sucked in a deep breath and suppressed the shock in his heart. When he examined the sword with his soul, he discovered that there was a spell in the sword. He could not tell what it was, but the pressure it gave off made his soul tremble violently. He circulated the spirit force in his body and infused it into the flying sword. As soon as his spirit force came into contact with the god art mark in the flying sword, the sword immediately erupted with a dense sword chi. At the same time, the young man had an illusion that he was in perfect harmony with the sword. His eyes were filled with joy. The sword hadn't activated its spell yet, but just based on the fusion of spiritual force, it could be classified as an intermediate-tier magic treasure. He didn't immediately try out the divine ability. Instead, he controlled the sword and pointed it at the huge high-grade origin spirit stone outside the shop. Suddenly, the sword whistled, and the sword flashed out, turning into a beam of light that shot toward the origin spirit stone. The young man watched as the sword pierced through the origin spirit stone and returned to him in a beam of light. Good sword. The young man looked at the flying sword and his eyes were filled with admiration. However, there was a trace of regret. He said, with this fusion, it can be considered an intermediate-tier spirit treasure. With such power, it's more than high-tier. Unfortunately, the speed of this sword can't match it. What a pity, what a pity! As he spoke, he activated the spell inside the flying sword. At that instant, the young man's pupils shrank. He watched as the flying sword disappeared before his eyes. The next time it appeared, it was 100 feet away. The young man's body trembled and he immediately walked out of the shop. He waved his right hand and the flying sword immediately teleported back to him. The young man's eyes were no longer filled with ecstasy, but shock. He took a deep breath and pointed at the spirit stone again. The flying sword teleported and pierced through the spirit stone. This is teleportation. The young man's mouth was wide open as he recalled the flying sword and held it in his hand. A huge wave was set off in his heart. Normally, it was impossible to leave a teleportation mark on a flying sword. This was because the body of the sword couldn't withstand the friction of teleportation. In addition, without a powerful cultivation level, it was impossible to leave a teleportation mark on a sword. More importantly, even if one had the cultivation level to leave a mark on a sword, unless one's cultivation level was extremely high and their domain was special, they wouldn't be able to leave a mark on the sword. Wang Lin's domain was the reincarnation of life and death, which was why he could make the teleportation mark on the sword. However, if the balance was broken, it would lose its effect. The young man grabbed the flying sword and quickly returned to the shop. He looked at Wang Lin and quickly said, "Fellow cultivator, my shop wants this sword. Is 100,000 high-quality spirit stones enough?" Wang Lin frowned. This young man's cultivation level was too low. He had only used 10% of the sword's power to control it. The young man saw Wang Lin frown. He pondered for a bit and gritted his teeth. "Fellow cultivator, I can add 50,000 high-quality spirit stones at most. Although this sword is a top-quality spirit treasure, I have already given you a very high price. Do you have a soul transformation cultivator here?" Wang Lin asked with a frown. The young man was startled and revealed a look of displeasure. "What do you mean? Do you think my cultivation level is not high enough and I can't see the quality of this flying sword? My shop has a soul transformation cultivator. Since you said so, I'll invite him over." The young man slapped his bag of holding, and a jade slip flew out. He sent a voice transmission to the young man, and the jade slip turned into a streak of azure light that flew out of the shop and disappeared. After sending out the jade, the young man sat on the chair and played with the flying sword in his hand without saying a word. With Wang Lin's cultivation level, he naturally wouldn't compete with a low-level cultivator. His state of mind had reached the level of a great master. At this moment, he couldn't help but laugh and look at the magic treasures around him. In contrast, the young man couldn't keep his cool after a while. He would occasionally look at Wang Lin and his eyes flashed with surprise. From his point of view, although this cultivator was only at the late stage of core formation, he felt like he was looking at the head of the family or even an elder. This person's casual attitude and calm expression didn't look like something a core formation cultivator should have. However, this person's cultivation level was indeed at the core formation stage. It wasn't that the young man didn't consider the possibility that this person was hiding his cultivation level, but this green bamboo pavilion had a formation set up by the family elder. As long as one's cultivation level wasn't at the ascendant stage, they wouldn't be able to hide. Not long after, a cool breeze blew in from outside. After the wind passed, an old man in green stepped into the pavilion. The first thing the old man saw was the flying sword in the young man's hand, and there was a flash of light in his eyes. When the young man saw the old man, he immediately stood up and respectfully said, "Junior son Mo greets elder." The old man let out a grunt and his gaze swept past Wang Lin. His expression didn't change at all and he calmly said, "Is this the person who wants to test the magic treasure?" The young man quickly nodded and respectfully handed over the flying sword in his hand. The moment the old man entered, Wang Lin glanced at him and then withdrew his gaze. This person's cultivation level was at the late stage of soul transformation but not peak. However, he had clearly been through life and death for a long time and his heart had been tempered. He was much more mature than the four little fellows he met on the way here. The old man didn't waste any more time. He reached out with his right hand and the flying sword landed in his hand. He scanned it with his divine sense and shock appeared on his calm face. "Elder, Junior can see that this treasure is..." The young man stood on the side and was about to speak when he saw the old man glare at him. The young man immediately swallowed the second half of his sentence. The old man flicked the flying sword with his left hand and a crisp sword hymn echoed. The sound was as beautiful as the heavens. The shock in his eyes became even stronger. He waved his right hand and the sword immediately disappeared. This time, he was teleported 1,000 miles away. In the next instant, the flying sword suddenly appeared, circling around the elder's body. There was even celestial energy that spread out from it, turning into sharp sword energy that was contained and not released. More importantly, there were bolts of lightning moving around the flying sword. The old man gasped as he stared at the lightning. After pondering a bit, he raised his finger and touched the lightning. There was a soft bang and the old man's face instantly turned pale. He retreated a few steps and only recovered after a while. Not only was he not angry, but his eyes were filled with joy. The young man watched all of this from the side and was completely startled. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that under the old man's control, there was actually celestial spiritual energy on the flying sword. Celestial treasure. This is a celestial treasure. The young man was dumbfounded. It's not a celestial treasure, it's a pseudo-celestial treasure. There is also a greater teleportation technique on it. In addition to that, the strange lightning is the reason why this treasure is so precious. Without the lightning, this treasure can only be considered a normal pseudo-celestial treasure. However, with the lightning, this treasure is very different. The old man didn't hide anything and looked at Wang Lin. "This item was given to you by the elders of your family, right? Are you sure you want to sell it?" 3,000 celestial jades. Wang Lin didn't answer and instead gave a price. The old man's eyes narrowed and he carefully looked at Wang Lin. Without a word, he slapped his bag of holding and a pile of celestial jades appeared on the ground. They emitted dense celestial spiritual energy that filled the entire green bamboo pavilion. Wang Lin waved his sleeve and put the celestial jades into his bag of holding. The old man looked at Wang Lin and asked, "Do you have any other pseudo-celestial treasures?" Wang Lin's expression remained the same. He touched his bag of holding, took out a bronze mirror, and threw it to the old man. The old man caught it and only took one look before his expression changed greatly. He was even more shocked than when he saw the flying sword. He cried out, "Inheritance pseudo-celestial treasure!" Chapter 665. The old man stared at the inheritance pseudo-celestial treasure and his eyes revealed an almost undetectable trace of greed. There was a hint of a smile that wasn't a smile in Wang Lin's eyes. He didn't pretend to panic, nor did he show any other expression. He was still very calm. He didn't want to take the initiative to steal the celestial jades, but if the other party came to steal from him and he stood on the side of reason, then it wouldn't be killing for the treasure, but defending himself. Because of this, he had a reason. Even if he killed someone, he would still be able to stand firm. Adding on his powerful cultivation, no one on planet Ran Yun would dare to stand up for him. After 800 years of cultivation, not only did Wang Lin become smart, but he also knew how to be sinister. However, he rarely showed his sinister side. In the Luo Tian star system, he had changed his appearance. Even if there were people familiar with him, they wouldn't be able to recognize him. There was a hint of hesitation in the old man's eyes. After a while, he let out a mouthful of foul air. He held the copper mirror and asked, "How many celestial jades do you want for this?" Wang Lin's tone was calm as he slowly said, 50,000. The old man frowned. He could take out 50,000 celestial jades from his bag of holding, but he had spent nearly 100 years slowly accumulating them in preparation for reaching the ascendant stage. If he took them out now, he was worried he wouldn't have enough time to reach the ascendant stage. As he pondered, he looked down at the copper mirror in his hand and began to hesitate. He was very tempted by this treasure. It has to be said that if a soul transformation cultivator could obtain an inheritance pseudo-celestial treasure, the meaning would be very different. If this treasure was powerful enough, he could even battle against peak soul transformation cultivators. Although he didn't know what the copper mirror's spell was, he knew that any inheritance treasure wouldn't be weak. It wasn't that he hadn't thought about killing someone to steal their treasure. However, when he looked at the young man before him, he noticed that this person's expression was still calm. Most importantly, to be able to take out these two treasures meant that this person was a direct descendant of a cultivation family. After a moment of silence, the old man took out a bag of holding and took out 10,000 celestial jade. Then he threw the rest of the celestial jades to Wang Lin. Wang Lin took it and scanned it with his divine sense. The number was accurate, so he put it in his pocket and threw the inheritance jade slip to the old man. The old man immediately caught the jade slip and looked at it with rapt attention. A moment later, his eyes were filled with joy. He hesitated for a moment before asking, "Do you have more?" Wang Lin glanced at the old man and took out the hairpin from his storage bag. "It's a pseudo-immortal artifact as well." Disappointment flashed in the old man's eyes, and then he nodded to Wang Lin before turning around and walking out of the green bamboo pavilion. Wang Lin bought some ingredients in the shop and left. Even at this moment, the young man who was standing at the side still couldn't believe what had just happened. As he walked on the street, Wang Lin spread out his divine sense. He revealed an indistinct mocking smile. There was a divine sense locked onto him, following him. "I'll give you a chance." Wang Lin changed directions and headed toward the city gate. He soon exited the city gate, took out a flying sword, and flew forward. His speed wasn't fast. He maintained the speed of a core formation cultivator. After traveling for thousands of kilometers, a large amount of fog suddenly appeared before him. This fog appeared out of nowhere. In a flash, the fog condensed into a giant hand that mercilessly reached toward Wang Lin, creating a harsh howl. The mockery in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger and lightning flashed in his eyes. The moment the giant hand reached toward him, Wang Lin raised his right hand and casually waved it. In an instant, a large amount of celestial spiritual energy swept out from Wang Lin's hand. The large hand that was grabbing over immediately disappeared amidst the rumbling sounds in the sky. Even the large black fog behind it was wildly blown away. A miserable groan was emitted from it. "You're not a core formation cultivator." As the black fog dissipated, a skinny middle-aged man was revealed. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and lightning crackled around his body. The middle-aged man's face was filled with terror, and he quickly retreated without hesitation. There was also a black glow around his body. It was clear that he had used some kind of spell. Wang Lin calmly looked at him and slowly chased after the middle-aged man. This person was only at the mid-stage of nascent soul. If Wang Lin wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as blowing off dust. The middle-aged man's heart was filled with terror. With one wave of his hand, his nascent soul dissipated. If he didn't return to the family in a short amount of time, he would die. He regretted listening to Elder Sun and causing trouble for this person for a few spirit stones. What made him even more terrified was that the person behind him was still chasing him. This kind of life and death pressure made him feel like he was about to collapse. The distance of thousands of miles was crossed in the blink of an eye. The middle-aged man directly flew into the city. His face was pale and most of his nascent soul had dissipated. He coughed out another mouthful of blood and rushed into the Sun family's house in the center of the city. After arriving here, he could no longer control the dissipation of his nascent soul. He hoarsely shouted, "Save me!" It was as if he had used the last bit of his strength. His body tilted and he fell. A white shadow whistled over. It was a man in white. He caught the middle-aged man's body and his expression changed slightly. Without hesitation, he took out a large amount of pills from his bag of holding and poured them all into the middle-aged man's mouth. At the same time, many figures rushed out from the Sun family's residence at the center of the city. Some even soared into the sky. At this moment, Wang Lin's expression was calm as he walked over. "How dare you hurt someone from the Sun family?" One of the people from the Sun family immediately took out a flying sword and charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin waved his sleeve and a gust of wind appeared. It turned into a storm that swept away all the Sun family cultivators within 1,000 feet of him. "All of you, stand down!" A shout came from the house and 3 old men walked out. One of them was Elder Sun, the person who made the deal with Wang Lin. Elder Sun's expression was very gloomy. The person who spoke was a red-faced old man. He coldly looked at Wang Lin and coldly said, "Which family's child are you? Do you know that breaking into my Sun family is a great disaster?" Wang Lin faintly smiled. He pointed at Elder Sun and gently said, "I'm here for him." Elder Sun's expression became even more gloomy and he shouted, "Little kid, the deal between you and the old man is over. Are you regretting it?" Wang Lin shook his head and pointed at the unconscious middle-aged man on the ground. He smiled and said, "What a coincidence. The moment I left the shop, I was intercepted by this person. After I lost, I ran here." Elder Sun let out a snort. The 2 old men beside him frowned. This matter was very simple. The 2 of them looked at each other and guessed the reason. Elder Sun was jealous of the other person's item and couldn't act himself, so he sent out a family member. However, Elder Sun was still an elder of the Sun family. Since this matter had already happened, the 2 of them had to protect him. The red-faced old man sneered, "Ridiculous. It doesn't matter whose family you are. Stay here today. When your family's elders come to the Sun family to negotiate, we will decide whether you live or die." There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He raised his right hand and pressed down. Suddenly, a thunderous rumble came from the sky and a powerful pressure descended on the Sun family's mansion. At this moment, the expressions of all the Sun family members changed greatly. They all used the spiritual energy in their bodies to resist. It was as if they would collapse if they didn't resist. The eyes of the 3 old men, including Elder Sun, shined brightly and revealed a hint of terror. "Is this ridiculous?" Wang Lin's voice was cold. "Fellow cultivator, please calm down." An old voice rang out from within the house. Following that, an old man dressed in black slowly walked out. His appearance immediately caused the pressure that was descending to dissipate slightly. Although this person wasn't at the ascendant stage, he was at the peak of the soul transformation stage. He was only 1 step away from the ascendant stage. From the looks of it, he was only 1 step away from reaching the peak of comprehension. However, Wang Lin noticed that for some reason, there was a hint of ascendant aura coming from this old man. This didn't mean that this person was hiding his cultivation, but that there was the divine sense of an ascendant cultivator surrounding him. The old man in black said, "This matter is indeed my Sun family's fault. We have offended fellow cultivator." The moment he said this, the three old men, including Elder Sun, were startled, but they immediately understood what was going on. Wang Lin calmly looked at the old man and said, 200,000 celestial jades, and we'll forget about this matter. The old man's expression changed slightly. He hesitated for a bit and nodded. Fine, but 200,000 celestial jades is too much. This is only a branch of the Sun family, so it isn't enough. Fellow cultivator, please wait for 3 days, okay? Wang Lin meaningfully looked at the old man. He wasn't looking at the old man, but at the ascendant divine sense on his body. After withdrawing his gaze, Wang Lin turned around and left. It wasn't until Wang Lin was far away that the old man in black let out a sigh of relief. The ascendant divine sense on his body dissipated. He fiercely glared at the old man named Sun and let out a cold snort. The red-faced old man hesitated for a bit and softly said, 200,000 celestial jades. Even in the main family, it is a large amount. The old man in black coldly said, just now, the main family's ancestor descended on me and ordered me to agree to any request. Not to mention 200,000 celestial jades, even 400,000 celestial jades must be given. In addition, today's matter is to be sealed by the family. Don't spread it and don't disturb this person. At this moment, in the vast ocean on the eastern side of planet Ranyun, a long-haired man with his upper body naked was sitting in the lotus position. After a while, he opened his eyes. His eyes shined brightly, and they were like two bright lights in the dark ocean. He raised his head, looked up, and thought to himself, could this person be the ascendant cultivator that suddenly appeared? But I can't see through his cultivation level. There's something about him that makes me feel like I'm about to be tied down. I can't provoke this person. Since he is in my Sun family city, perhaps the opportunity for my Sun family has arrived. Was that last glance a warning? That's right. He was telling me not to disturb him. That person definitely qualifies to speak to me in such a way. After a long moment passed, the man flew up from the bottom of the sea and began to fly away. Chapter 666. Being low-key was what Wang Lin was planning to do on planet Ranyun so that he could cultivate in peace and return to the Alliance star system as soon as possible. However, being low-key didn't mean that he would be like a true low-level cultivator and swallow his anger. Being low-key meant that he wasn't afraid of the other party knowing about him. However, he would have an indifferent attitude toward everything in the outside world and wouldn't participate in any matters. This low-key attitude could turn into an invisible force that made it so that the peak existences on planet Ranyun wouldn't dare to offend him. This was the result Wang Lin wanted. His steps were light as he returned to his residence in the northern part of the city. The young man under the rock was still cultivating. From the looks of it, he had been cultivating all day and was very serious. Just as he got close, the young man opened his eyes and snorted. You stop! Wang Lin was startled. He stopped and looked at the young man. Do you know what cultivators value the most? Let me tell you, it's diligence. The young man looked at Wang Lin and said, although your talent isn't good, if you are diligent, there is still room for improvement. I've been guarding the Fong Palace for many years and have seen many cultivators that have reached the soul formation stage. None of them have given up cultivating so early in the morning like you did in the Fong Palace. Your talent isn't good, so you should be even more diligent. Otherwise, it will be impossible for you to reach the nascent soul stage in your life. This lesson made Wang Lin even more startled and he revealed a bitter smile. When the young man saw Wang Lin's expression, His tone softened a bit and the contempt in his eyes dissipated a bit. He then said, "It's not that I'm looking down on you, but you have to remember that in the cultivation world, only by thinking highly of yourself can you make others respect you. The spiritual energy here is denser than outside the city. If you hurry up and go into closed-door cultivation for a few decades, you might really be able to reach the nascent soul stage. At that time, I believe you can be like me in your family and have some power and position." Wang Lin rubbed his nose. Before he succeeded in his cultivation, everyone he met was cunning and selfish. No one would say such words to him. After he succeeded in his cultivation, no one dared to say such words in front of him because of his monstrous slaughter. Even Dun Tian's master didn't have much time to interact with him before he died. At this moment, when he was suddenly taught a lesson by the person in front of him, Wang Lin felt quite emotional and hurriedly nodded in agreement. The young man's expression softened, but he was still serious. He said, "If you have any questions about cultivation, you can come and ask me. Remember, having a bad aptitude isn't scary. What's scary is laziness." We cultivators are in defiance of the heavens. Our hearts can't relax and our bodies can't relax. Otherwise, how can we cultivate in defiance of the heavens? You can go in now. Hurry up and breathe. If anyone who knew Wang Lin saw this scene, they would definitely be dumbfounded. Wang Lin's bitter smile became even stronger. The moment he walked into the entrance, he looked back at the young man under the rock. This person's back was a bit thin, and the loose clothes on his body looked a bit out of place. At this moment, a gentle breeze blew by and scattered some of the young man's hair bun. The young man subconsciously raised his hand and tucked it behind his ear. As if sensing Wang Lin's gaze, the young man turned around and glanced at Wang Lin before looking away and ignoring him. This young man was a woman disguised as a man, and there was a spell covering her face. Wang Lin had already noticed this before, but he didn't force himself to look at this person's appearance. After returning to the Fong mansion, Wang Lin sat down in the lotus position and slapped his bag of holding. 1,000 celestial jades flew out and landed around him. His hands formed a seal, and a few seals landed on the large amount of celestial jades around him. The dense celestial spiritual energy was forcefully gathered around Wang Lin so none of it leaked out. Wang Lin closed his eyes and began to cultivate. The celestial spiritual energy turned into threads that slowly entered his body through his orifices and circulated inside his body. Time slowly passed. 3 days later, Wang Lin opened his eyes. The 1,000 celestial jades around him had turned to dust, leaving behind traces. The moment he opened his eyes, the dust scattered in all directions. "I still don't have enough celestial jade. Ascendant is not like soul transformation. Although soul transformation requires a lot of celestial jades, it is still bearable. However, Ascendant requires too many celestial jades. Even with the 200,000 celestial jades from the Sun family, it still isn't enough for me to reach the mid-stage of Ascendant. If I want to reach the late stage of Ascendant, the amount of celestial jades I need is unimaginable. There is also the peak stage and the yin and yang stage." Wang Lin frowned. He didn't quite understand. Celestial jades were already very rare, and they were consumables for cultivators above the soul transformation stage. As a result, a large amount of celestial jades were consumed every single day. The celestial realm no longer existed, so where did all these celestial jades come from? Wang Lin began to ponder. He had thought about this before, but he couldn't find an answer no matter how much he thought about it. Besides, just the first step of cultivation already requires such a large amount of celestial jades. If I reach the second step, then how many celestial jades would I need? Or for people like Tian Yunzi, wouldn't they need more celestial jades than countless ascendant cultivators combined? Wang Lin frowned even tighter. Could it be that the second step of cultivation doesn't require celestial jades? Or is there a special way to replace celestial jades? A bold guess flashed through Wang Lin's mind. As he pondered, his expression changed and he looked outside the room. A gentle breeze blew by and the black-robed old man from the Sun family respectfully appeared outside the room. Wang Lin waved his right hand and opened the restriction outside. The black-robed old man quickly walked in, but before he entered, he hesitated. He also hid his cultivation to look like he was at the core formation stage and entered the room with a wry smile. "Senior, last time I was in a hurry, so Junior didn't have time to introduce myself. Junior is Sun Qiming from a branch of the Sun family. I'm currently the person in charge of the Sun family in this city. Can I know Senior's name?" The old man's attitude was extremely respectful. In his view, someone who could make the ancestor of the main family personally come was not someone he could provoke. Wang Lin calmly said, "Su Mu. Senior Su, 200,000 celestial jades have been delivered from the main family. Please accept it." The old man quickly took out a bag of holding. He sighed in his heart. 200,000 celestial jades was given away by the ancestor just like that. From this, it could be seen that the person before him was not an ordinary person. After taking the bag of holding, Wang Lin didn't check it. He believed that the ascendant cultivator of the Sun family wouldn't have any thoughts about this. After the old man handed over the bag of holding, he quickly said, "Senior, don't worry. Junior has already ordered that what happened that day will not be spread. Even though Junior came here today, no one saw me and I won't disturb Senior's cultivation. Also, if Senior wants to go into closed-door cultivation, there are better places in this city." Wang Lin's expression was calm as he said, "There is no need. You can leave." The old man respectfully stepped back. After a bit of hesitation, he said, "Senior, in 7 days, in this city, the Ran family's brothel will be holding an auction. Among the auction is a rank 8 god Dan." Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he glanced at the old man. The old man's body immediately trembled, and he swallowed the second half of his words. The room was completely silent. Time passed by, but to the old man it was extremely long. It was as if every breath was a year. This silence turned into an invisible pressure that made the old man's heart tremble. He didn't want to do this, but since the main family wanted to test the cultivation of the person before him, he had to force himself to say those words. However, he still had a sliver of hope in his heart. He thought that the silence was because this senior named Su Mu didn't see through his thoughts, but because of the rank 8 god Dan. After a while, Wang Lin slowly said, "Hand it over." The old man's face was pale as he looked at Wang Lin. He immediately reacted and took out a red token from his bag of holding. He said in a low voice, "This is the token for the auction. You can leave." After taking the token, Wang Lin closed his eyes. The old man quickly left the mansion and let out a sigh of relief. Cold sweat had already soaked his clothes. Just at this moment, Wang Lin's cold words entered his ears. "There won't be a second time." The old man's face instantly lost all color. He turned around and respectfully bowed before turning into the wind and disappearing. He reappeared in a remote corner of the city and wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead. The moment Wang Lin's words entered his ears, he immediately understood that his thoughts had been completely seen through by Wang Lin. This kind of scheming made him feel extremely terrified. He followed the main family's request and used the news of the rank 8 god Dan to test whether or not Wang Lin was tempted. If Wang Lin was tempted and took the token, then it meant that Wang Lin's cultivation had most likely reached the ascendant stage. If Wang Lin wasn't tempted, the main family didn't say anything. They only said to immediately withdraw all of their forces from the city. However, although he had obtained his answer, his heart was still uneasy. Rank 8 pill. Wang Lin held the token and began to ponder. Wang Lin knew the details of the rank of pills. After all, Li Muwen was a grandmaster alchemist. There were 9 ranks of pills: high, middle, and low. Rank 9 pills were called God pills, rank 8 pills were called God pills, and rank 7 pills were called immortal pills. Back then, when Wang Lin reached the nascent soul stage, he swallowed a high rank 6 pill. The names of the ranks of these pills were made up by the later generations. Although the so-called immortal pills and God pills have big names, they aren't real immortal pills. The difference between the two is too big. It's like heaven and earth. To be more accurate, this rank 9 pill is the limit. If one's cultivation level reaches the second step, this type of pill will be ineffective unless they have a real immortal pill or God pill. However, for my current cultivation level, this rank 8 pill is still effective. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he made a decision in his heart. That Black-Robe Jr. probably doesn't have the guts to use a pill to test my cultivation level. It must be the ascendant cultivator behind the Sun family. He can't see through my cultivation level, so he used a gentle method to test me. If I'm not tempted by this pill, then it means I've already reached the first step of cultivation. Wang Lin touched the bag of holding with the 200,000 celestial jades and forgot about this matter. Chapter 667. In the northern domain of the overarching star system, an ancient voice came from a ray of light. May Air, this is Teacher's hometown and also where you will cultivate in the future. If I think about it carefully, Teacher hasn't been back for thousands of years. If it wasn't for the Luo de stone left by my Huan family's ancestor, Teacher wouldn't have been able to bring you here so easily. There was also a woman inside the ray of light. She gently nodded as she looked at this strange star system. She didn't feel like she belonged at all. That glass-like place before us is Planet Thousand Illusion. This planet is one of the 5 main planets in the northern domain, and it is also where Teacher's family is located. May Air, my overarching star system places great importance on bloodlines. Without the family's bloodline, you can't cultivate high-level cultivation methods or receive the protection of the family. From now on, aside from being my disciple and teacher, you are my adopted daughter. Once we return to Planet Thousand Illusion, I'll use the blood change spell on you so that your bloodline will contain the Huan family's blood. From now on, your name will no longer be Lu Mei, but Huan Mei. Do you agree? The old man's eyes shined as he looked at the woman with anticipation. He was very satisfied with this disciple and didn't want to be bound by the inherent thoughts of the overarching star system. However, without the bloodline, Lu Mei would have no identity. This was why he didn't hesitate to use the blood change spell that he rarely used to personally change the bloodline of this disciple. The woman silently pondered. Her teacher had mentioned this on the way here. She pondered a bit before nodding and softly saying, "I'll listen to Teacher's arrangements." The old man laughed and was very happy. May Air, the old man will definitely train you into a powerful cultivator that can reach the second step. You will even surpass the Nirvana Scryer stage the old man is at. The ray of light quickly flew toward the dazzling Planet Thousand Illusion, leaving only the echoes of his laughter. The woman looked at Planet Thousand Illusion and thought, this trip to overarching star system is my new life. Wang Lin and Suzaku are gone. With Wang Lin's talent, I fear he hasn't reached the ascendant stage yet. Whether he can pass the life and death trial of the ascendant stage is another matter. The gap between him and me has been widened, and this gap will only grow larger and larger. He is no longer worthy of being called my opponent. It's a pity that the special magic treasure I prepared for him can no longer be used. The woman took a deep breath. Thinking about that special treasure, her eyes flashed with pain. However, this pain was quickly replaced by coldness. Right now, I'm afraid he's still on Suzaku. He and I are no longer on the same level. The streak of light disappeared into the Thousand Illusions star. On planet Ranyun, Wang Lin was surrounded by many celestial jade. He slowly absorbed them, and 7 days passed in a flash. He opened his eyes and lightning moved within them. It was extremely strange. Taking a deep breath, he consumed the rest of the immortal qi. As the immortal jades in the area transformed into dust, Wang Lin seemed to sense something. He looked outside for a moment, then rose to his feet and walked out. The young man who had been meditating on the mountain to the north of the city let out a deep breath. A white qi dragon came out from his nose and circled around his body before gradually dissipating. He opened his eyes, looked at the sky, and muttered to himself, "My talent isn't good, but I'll make up for it with diligence. One day, I'll reach the mid-stage of nascent soul." Just at this moment, he suddenly frowned. A person walked over from the front. This person had black hair and was wearing a purple robe without any accessories. This person looked to be around 30 years old. He had a dignified appearance and a sharp aura that made him seem extraordinary. He stood there as if he had merged into his surroundings, making it impossible to tell them apart. At this moment, this person had his hands behind his back and his gaze was on the entrance as if he was waiting for something. Noticing the gaze of the young man under the mountain, this person turned his head and glanced at him before ignoring him. The young man under the mountain frowned even more. He couldn't see through the cultivation of the person before him, but he had a feeling that he couldn't provoke this person. There was a sense of crisis coming from this person's soul. There was a flash of light at the entrance and a person walked out. It was Wang Lin. The moment his figure appeared, the person in purple immediately looked over. There was a powerful pressure in his gaze that landed on Wang Lin's body. A sense of battle intent came from the man in purple, but he forcefully suppressed it. Other than Wang Lin, no one else could detect it. The young man under the boulder only felt that the surrounding temperature had suddenly dropped, as if he was in the middle of winter. His heart skipped a beat and he had a bad feeling. When he saw Wang Lin walk out, he immediately said, "Go back." Wang Lin was startled and looked at the young man under the mountain. The young man stood up. The loose clothes on his body were very uncoordinated, but the young man had a serious expression on his face. With a few steps, he arrived at the entrance and anxiously said, "What are you standing there for? Quickly go back. That person must be looking for trouble with you. I'm responsible for this Fong Manor, so I have to ensure your safety." As he spoke, he slapped his bag of holding and a jade appeared in his hand. Wang Lin carefully looked at the young man and said, "You are not his match." The young man frowned again. He held the jade and said, "You don't need to worry about this. If you insist on coming out, then I won't interfere." Wang Lin was speechless. He took 2 steps back and stood at the entrance of the formation. The young man immediately arrived before Wang Lin. He looked at the man in purple and loudly said, "Senior, this is my son family's Fong Manor. What business does Senior have?" The man in purple was also startled and the battle intent on his body immediately disappeared. His eyes revealed a look of interest as he carefully looked at the young man and smiled. "What is your name?" The young man's expression froze and he said, "Junior is Sun Ling." The man in purple nodded and said, "You are very responsible. Not bad. You can leave now. The person I'm looking for is the person behind you." The young man's expression changed and he said, "Senior, if he leaves this manor, Junior won't interfere. However, since he is still here, it is Junior's responsibility." The man in purple frowned and coldly looked at the young man. Then his gaze moved past the young man and landed on Wang Lin. With one gaze, Sun Ling's body trembled. At this moment, he had a feeling that the person standing before him wasn't a cultivator, but an ancient beast. That gaze was a warning. It was as if he said one more word and didn't move out of the way, he would be torn apart by the ancient beast. Wang Lin's expression was calm as usual. He didn't care about the man's gaze at all. He only looked at the back of the man who was still standing before him despite his trembling nascent soul. Wang Lin silently pondered. Sun Ling took a deep breath and said, "Senior, as long as he doesn't step out, I am responsible for his safety. Also, he is only a core formation cultivator." Senior, the man in purple frowned. With his identity being contradicted so many times made him unhappy. "You leave." However, before the man in purple could finish speaking, Wang Lin spoke. "Enough." Wang Lin's expression was calm as he walked out of the entrance formation. The moment he walked out, Sun Ling immediately said, "Why did you come out? Go back." With that, he was about to crush the jade in his hand. This jade was a message. Wang Lin turned around, faintly smiled, and said, "It doesn't matter." With that, Wang Lin walked toward the man in purple. A green mist appeared out of nowhere and surrounded the area, blocking Sun Ling's gaze. There was about 30 steps between Wang Lin and the man in purple. Wang Lin's expression was extremely calm as he walked toward the man in purple. At first, the man in purple looked calm, but as Wang Lin got closer, he immediately felt a pressure coming from Wang Lin's body. This pressure was very strong. When Wang Lin was only 10 steps away from him, it almost reached its peak. The man in purple's expression changed slightly and his eyes became sharp. He stared at Wang Lin, but he didn't retreat. Instead, he forced himself to stand still. Wang Lin didn't stop and took another step. When this step landed in the eyes of the purple-robed man, it was as if thunder had exploded in his mind. It was as if this step didn't land on the ground but on his mind. The man couldn't help but take a step back. One step back, many steps back. Wang Lin took 8 steps in a row. Each step was like countless bolts of thunder that echoed in the purple-robed man's heart. With each step, the thunder seemed to stack on top of each other, forming a storm inside the purple-robed man's body. As he continued to retreat, the man in purple's face immediately turned pale. He stared at Wang Lin with shock in his eyes. With the last step, Wang Lin raised his foot and calmly looked at the man who had retreated a few steps. His eyes flashed with a hint of coldness as he suddenly stepped down. If the previous few steps could be said to be a gradual accumulation of power, then this last step was to take all of the previously condensed and exploded lines of fire, and with a single step, it triggered all of the previously condensed aura. The man in purple's expression completely changed. Without any hesitation, he took another step back and clasped his hands. "Fellow cultivator, I have no ill intentions." Wang Lin coldly looked at the man in purple and walked past him. The man in purple bitterly smiled and followed behind Wang Lin. When the green mist dissipated, there was no trace of it in Sun Ling's eyes. He didn't see what had happened inside the green mist. With a sigh, he once again returned to the mountain and sat down. After being captured by that senior, it will be very difficult for this person to survive. The young man was startled for a moment before he closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. He had done his duty. After leaving the northern part of the city, Wang Lin calmly walked toward the eastern part of the city toward the whole treasure pavilion. Beside him, the man in purple bitterly smiled and said, "Fellow cultivator Su, I'm Sun Shi. Fellow Taoist Su, my name is Sun Shi." What happened just now was truly without malice. If it was someone else, with his status, he wouldn't speak like this to someone of the same generation. However, the test just now made him feel that this Su Mu was very mysterious and that he couldn't see through his cultivation at all. This wasn't the main point. The main point was that he felt a sense of confidence and killing intent from Wang Lin. This kind of aura could only mean one thing. The person before him had killed cultivators of the same level as him, and more than one. Only then would he be able to condense this kind of confident aura. This Sun Shi was one of the 3 ascendant cultivators on planet Ranyun, the early-stage ascendant ancestor of the Sun family. After he finished cultivating at the bottom of the sea, he headed straight for Ranyun City. Chapter 668. Wang Lin calmly said, I gave you a warning. In his heart, although this Sun Shi's cultivation level was the same as his, he didn't consider Sun Shi a threat. It could even be said that there was no cultivator on planet Ran Yun that could make Wang Lin dread. Moreover, this Sun Shi had ignored his warning and come here, so he must have something to ask of him. Even so, Sun Shi needed to be punished, or else there would be endless trouble in the future. As a result, his tone was no longer polite. Wang Lin had cultivated for nearly 1,000 years, so he could see through people's hearts. In life, some things are like this. If you treat someone as a person, they will treat you as a weak person. If you treat them as a weak person, they will treat you as a strong person. This was just like when Wang Lin was a child in the village. Those who always showed weakness were often bullied, and those who were smart would often show how strong they were. As a result, very few children dared to provoke them. Even the relatives of Wang Lin's family were like this. The strong and the weak were not equal, there was only a huge gap between them. This was the mentality. If you were weak, the other party would be strong, and if you were strong, the other party would be weak. Wang Lin had cultivated for many years and understood a lot of things. Sun Shi pondered for a long time and bitterly smiled. Fellow cultivator Su, I was reckless in this matter. I just have something to ask of you, so I was a bit impatient. Wang Lin didn't reply and continued to walk forward. Sun Shi clenched his teeth and said, Brother Su, if you help me once, I can use the entire Sun family to help you cultivate. Your family can't afford to raise 2 ascendant cultivators. Wang Lin's voice was calm. Sun Shi's eyes became serious and he said, Brother Su, my Sun family indeed can't afford to raise 2 ascendant cultivators. However, if you help me, I can give you the spot to enter the Thunder Celestial Realm in 100 years. Wang Lin stopped in his tracks and glanced sideways at Sun Shi before withdrawing his gaze and continuing forward. I presume Brother Su also knows that every time the Thunder Celestial Realm opens, all the Thunder Furnaces are controlled by the Thunder Celestial Temple. Outsiders can't obtain them. If you want to enter the Thunder Celestial Realm, you must be someone from the Thunder Celestial Temple. Only families with a record of the Thunder Celestial Temple can participate. Sun Shi's eyes were half closed as he casually explained. There were very few people who could reach the ascendant stage who weren't cunning. This Sun Shi was the ancestor of his family, so he was certainly a cunning person. Earlier, he was suppressed by Wang Lin's aura and had to show weakness, but now he began to fight back. As he explained, he also pointed out his suspicions about Wang Lin's origins. Wang Lin smiled and said, Your Sun family has a junior called Sun Xueshan. How is he? Sun Shi's eyes revealed a strange light as he gave Wang Lin a profound look and smiled. Xueshan's cultivation level is not bad, but he doesn't have enough experience. I'm grateful that Brother Su saved his life. The two of them smiled at each other before withdrawing their gazes. Sun Shi's dread toward Wang Lin became even stronger. He looked at Wang Lin and sighed in his heart. This person's origin is mysterious and he is very cunning. Before, Sun Qiming's test was seen through by him, and when I pointed out his identity, he used Xueshan to resolve it. He has already changed his appearance, so even if he pretends not to know, I can only suspect it and can't get to the bottom of it. However, he admitted it himself, which is a bit strange. He clearly knows it and isn't afraid of me finding out about it. His cultivation level is also very high, far above mine. My Sun family must befriend such a person and can't offend him. Planet Donglin. Could this person really be from planet Donglin? Sun Shi pondered. Brother Su, are you satisfied with my suggestion? Sun Shi asked. We'll talk about this matter later, I also need some time to think about it. Wang Lin casually avoided the question. Sun Shi sighed and no longer asked. He began to introduce some interesting things about planet Ranyun to Wang Lin. As the two talked and laughed, they arrived at the Whole Treasure Pavilion. Today was the day of the Whole Treasure Pavilion's auction. There were many cultivators nearby, causing the outside of the Whole Treasure Pavilion to be bustling with noise. More than 10 employees of the Whole Treasure Pavilion were responsible for receiving the guests and arranging for them to enter according to the level of their tokens. As soon as Sun Shi and Wang Lin arrived, they saw Sun Qiming, who had been waiting outside the Whole Treasure Pavilion, quickly step forward. His eyes were filled with respect as he bowed and said, "Third-generation family member Sun Qiming greets the old ancestor and senior Su." In front of others, Sun Shi maintained his dignity. He didn't speak and only nodded slightly. Sun Qiming had already arrived at the Whole Treasure Pavilion. Although the Whole Treasure Pavilion was the property of the Ran family, as the person in charge of the Sun family, Sun Qiming was naturally different. He didn't let anyone from the Whole Treasure Pavilion follow them, and instead personally led the way. He led Wang Lin and Sun Shi directly to the 4th floor. While walking, the youth named Lu, who stopped Wang Lin from entering the Whole Treasure Pavilion, was accompanying a few guests. When he saw Wang Lin, he was startled, but then he saw Sun Qiming and was surprised. As for Sun Shi, he didn't know him, but looking at Sun Qiming's respectful attitude, it was clear that he had a very high status in the Sun family. Looking at Wang Lin, the youth named Lu had a vague feeling that he had missed something. The Whole Treasure Pavilion was divided into 4 floors, and the 4th floor was filled with private rooms. In the first private room on the left, Sun Shi and Wang Lin sat down. This position was excellent, and they could see the auction on the 2nd floor at a glance. Sun Qiming respectfully stood to the side, waiting for Sun Shi's instructions. The moment they entered, Wang Lin suddenly had a very strange feeling, as if there was something in his mind. When he checked with his divine sense, he immediately saw the old figure on the 3rd floor. "It's him!" Wang Lin was startled and immediately withdrew his divine sense. Sun Shi looked at Wang Lin and slowly said, "The mark on his body is very faint, and most of it has already dissipated. There is a problem." Sun Shi looked at Wang Lin and slowly said, "Brother Su, this grade 8 pill has some origin. This pill doesn't belong to planet Ranyun, but a foreign cultivator was seriously injured in a fight. When he escaped to planet Ranyun, the Ran family's ancestor, as well as carefree scholar, took action. That foreign cultivator died to the Ran family's ancestor." Wang Lin frowned. He looked at Sun Shi and didn't speak. He didn't want to know this kind of secret, but Sun Shi had said it. It was likely related to what Sun Shi was asking for. Sun Shi pretended not to see Wang Lin's gaze and said, "This was something that happened 4 years ago. This pill is extremely precious, especially for us ascendant cultivators. There wasn't just one pill, but 5. Carefree Scholar and I each obtained one. As for the Ran family's ancestor, he was at the mid-stage of ascendant, so he obtained 3. Wang Lin's expression remained the same as he looked at the 2nd floor, as if he wasn't listening. Sun Shi didn't mind and continued, "It's just that this pill is a bit of a hot potato for us. We saw the token of the Huan family's 1,000 Illusion clan in the storage bag of the person killed by the Ran family's ancestor." Wang Lin turned his head, looked at Sun Shi and calmly said, "Fellow cultivator Sun, I don't like listening to stories." Sun Shi faintly smiled and said, "Brother Su, even if I don't tell you the story today, someone else will come and tell it to you in the future. Although this city is owned by the Sun family, with Brother Su's intelligence, you should know why this grade 8 pill was auctioned here." Wang Lin's expression remained the same. He had some suspicions before, but he didn't know much about the big overarching star system, so he didn't think too much about it. Now that Sun Shi had pointed out the mystery, his gaze swept the 2nd floor and his eyes revealed a hint of coldness. Sun Shi had been staring at Wang Lin's expression. When he saw the coldness in Wang Lin's eyes, he let out a sigh of relief. His goal had been achieved, so he didn't say anything more. He picked up the teapot, poured a cup, and began to taste it. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. Without the permission of the Ran family's ascendant cultivator, how could this grade 8 pill be auctioned here? The price of this pill must be unimaginably high. Also, for cultivators below the ascendant stage, not only would it be useless, but it would also be a crime to be auctioned in such a high-profile manner. As long as one was smart, they wouldn't buy it. If they swallowed it, the medicinal power of a grade 8 pill would be something that cultivators below the ascendant stage wouldn't be able to withstand. A spirit herb would become a poison. Therefore, the reason this pill was being auctioned here was because of Wang Lin. The Ran family's ascendant cultivator wanted to tempt Wang Lin so that he would buy it. Wang Lin wasn't surprised that the Ran family's ascendant cultivator knew he was here. This planet was called Planet Ranyun, and the Ran family was the largest. If they didn't have any spells, they wouldn't be able to maintain their current status. Taking the pill and swallowing it was the same as participating in the matter that Sun Shi mentioned 4 years ago. Even if he explained it to the Huan family, it would be useless. What a deep schemer! Wang Lin's expression was calm, but he was very vigilant in his heart. Ascendant cultivators were not simple. There were no weaklings among the Ran family's ancestors. Under the Ran family's control, this pill will definitely not be bought by anyone else. If I don't buy it, the Ran family's ascendant cultivator will use another method to drag me in. The auction on the second floor had already begun. All kinds of treasures, materials, and pills were being auctioned off. Sun Shi put down the teacup and said, as if he was talking to himself, "Unfortunately, that person didn't even have time to reveal his identity 4 years ago before he was killed by the 3 of us. If we had known that he was a member of the Huan family, we wouldn't have dared to make a move." The Huan family on Planet Thousand Illusion is extremely overbearing. If a member of the family is killed, everyone involved will be killed. Everything in the person's bag of holding, even if it was auctioned off, will be affected by their anger. What the Huan family wants is absolute prestige. Even if the things in the bag of holding are placed in front of them, no one will dare to touch them. Instead, they will have to return them with both hands. If you try to get lucky, you will be wandering between life and death. Unfortunately, I still don't dare to take that pill. Wang Lin didn't speak. His gaze was still on the second floor. A man's voice came from the second floor. The next item for auction is a rank 8 pill. This pill can only be taken by ascendant cultivators. If anyone below the ascendant stage takes it, their body will explode and they will die. The starting price is 10,000 celestial jades. Chapter 669. In the auction hall on the second floor, a middle-aged man wearing a red robe was holding a jade box in his hand. After opening it, there was a wax pill the size of a baby's fist inside. There was no medicinal aura coming from this pill. It looked very ordinary. Bursts of discussion echoed in the hall. Cultivators that could come here naturally had good eyesight. A rank 8 pill was a rare treasure to them, but if their cultivation level wasn't high enough, they couldn't swallow it, or else it would become poison. If they couldn't swallow it, then leaving it on their body would be a disaster. Any cultivator that didn't have the ability to protect the pill would face a disaster the moment they walked out of the city. Therefore, although there was a lot of discussion in the hall, in the end, no one made a bid. Even though some young cultivators wanted to make a bid, they were sternly stopped by the elders next to them. In their eyes, this wasn't a pill, it was a human head. Whoever bought it, their head no longer belonged to them. Moreover, this matter was too strange. Such a pill was being sold by the Ran family. Could it be that the Ran family's ascendant ancestor didn't need this pill? Why was he auctioning it? As a result, some of the more active cultivators became even more suspicious and didn't dare to make a bid. Time slowly passed, but no one made a bid. The man in the red robe didn't show any signs of impatience. He wasn't surprised by this result. This time, the token was given out by the Ran family after careful consideration. They determined that no one would bid for this pill. If someone was really blind, then the Ran family wouldn't mind killing them for their treasure. The man's gaze occasionally swept the fourth floor and he loudly said, "Is there anyone who wants to make a bid? If no one makes a bid, then this rank 8 pill will be stored in my whole treasure pavilion." Wang Lin stared at the wax pill for a long time. His eyes became cold and he calmly said, "1 celestial jade. Since you want to sell it to me, then I'll buy it." Although his voice was calm, it clearly entered the ears of every cultivator on the second floor. An uproar immediately broke out. 1 celestial jade? Who is this? Could it be that he's crazy? The starting price is 10,000 celestial jades, yet this person said 1. What a joke. I'm afraid something like this has never happened in the whole treasure pavilion before. The Ran family is behind the whole treasure pavilion. This person's actions will definitely cause a huge disaster. He is clearly trying to embarrass the whole treasure pavilion. Judging from the sound, it should be coming from the fourth floor. Those who can be on the fourth floor are definitely not ordinary people. However, doing this will offend the Ran family. The man in red was also startled. He raised his head to look at the fourth floor. He was not someone from the whole treasure pavilion, but someone from the Ran family. His goal was to sell this pill to a specific person. He bitterly smiled in his heart. Although the person he was waiting for had spoken and bid, this price was something that he was unable to accept. In fact, if he really accepted this price, it would be equivalent to telling everyone that there was a huge problem with the sale of these medicinal pills. The Ran family's reputation would take a hit. Most importantly, if they sold it to this person, it would be equivalent to telling everyone that the Ran family was afraid. No one would believe that a grade 8 spirit pill could be sold for 1 celestial jade. However, if it really happened, it would cause a series of unimaginable consequences. However, if they didn't sell it, they couldn't do it. The old ancestor had already said that this pill must be sold here. Inside the private room on the fourth floor, Sun Shi's teacup paused. His eyes revealed a strange expression as he put down the teacup and sighed. "Brother Su, I admire you. I admire you." Sun Qiming's expression also froze. He was speechless for a long time. 1 celestial jade to buy a grade 8 pill. It wasn't just them. The young man surnamed Lu in the hall on the second floor also widened his eyes in disbelief. He was a bit familiar with this voice. It was the young man he stopped outside a few days ago. At this moment, when the young man surnamed Lu heard the bid, he muttered to himself, "This person is crazy." At this moment, no one noticed that in a single room on the third floor, there was an old man with an ancient appearance. When he heard the voice, his mind trembled. He suddenly looked up at the fourth floor and revealed a strange light in his eyes. This isn't his voice, but why is my mind trembling? In this life, aside from Tsing Yo, the old man has no other soul brand. The old man pondered for a long time before standing up. After hesitating for a bit, he sat back down and stared at the ground in a daze. My soul brand should have been broken on planet Dong Ling. Why is there still? The red-robed man hesitated for a bit before clenching his teeth and saying, "Since only one person is bidding, then I'll sell it for 1 celestial jade." Wang Lin sneered and his right hand reached out. The pill in the red-robed man's hand flew out and was caught by Wang Lin. He threw out a celestial jade, clasped his hands at Sun Shi, and left. Wang Lin ignored the uproar behind him and teleported outside the whole treasure pavilion. 1 pill is not enough to get me involved. Outside the whole treasure pavilion, Wang Lin walked away. On the third floor, the old man clenched his teeth and disappeared without a trace. As Wang Lin walked, he arrived at a remote place. He turned around and saw the old man from the whole treasure pavilion standing not far behind him. He carefully looked at Wang Lin with doubt in his eyes. Noticing Wang Lin looking at him, the old man let out a sigh and clasped his hands. Fellow cultivator, the old man mistook you for someone else. Please don't take offense. With that, he turned around and walked away. His back was filled with age. Wang Lin pondered a bit and slowly said, Sun Tai. The moment these two words entered the old man's ears, his body trembled. He suddenly turned around and stared at Wang Lin. His eyes were filled with shock and he exclaimed, You! It really is you! Wang Lin scanned Sun Tai with his divine sense and couldn't help but frown. How could the spell of the giant demon clan ancestor send you to the Luo Tian star system? Sun Tai revealed a bitter expression and shook his head. I've been wondering about this for hundreds of years. I don't know why, but from what I know, the spell of the giant demon clan isn't that strong. Wang Lin asked, The brand on your body is very faint. Why is that? Sun Tai pondered a bit and said, Do you know that there is a planet called Dong Lin in the Luo Tian star system? Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he didn't let Sun Tai continue speaking. He waved his sleeves and disappeared with Sun Tai. When they reappeared, they were inside the Fong mansion in the northern part of the city. Wang Lin took Sun Tai into his own mansion. Sitting on the side, Wang Lin looked at Sun Tai and said, You can speak now. I can't write anymore, I only have 2,000 words. Chapter 670. Sun Tai revealed a complicated expression as he looked at Wang Lin and couldn't speak for a long time. His cultivation level had fallen to the soul formation stage, but his eyesight was still there. However, no matter how hard he looked, he couldn't see through Wang Lin's cultivation level. Realization dawned on him. In his memory, the weak soul formation cultivator in the celestial world, the low-level cultivator who was forced by him to give up control of the puppet, the insignificant figure who could only be a bystander in his battle with Zhou Yi. He really couldn't overlap with the person in front of him. Back then, although Wang Lin's eyes were sharp, he wasn't smart enough and his cultivation level was too low. If it wasn't for Zhou Yi's mark, Sun Tai could have killed him with one slap. However, the Wang Lin before him had a calm gaze, but just a casual glance caused Sun Tai's heart to tremble. His origin soul felt like it was being struck by lightning and his body and mind trembled. This kind of strong gap was something Sun Tai simply couldn't accept. Back then, Wang Lin's status was even lower. Even in the Suzaku clan, he was only a chess piece and wasn't considered important by any ascendant cultivator. However, the moment this person appeared, he immediately caught the attention of the Ran family's ascendant ancestor, and he even sent over a grade 8 spirit pill. As for Sun Tai, he was reduced to a guest of the Ran family and no longer had any of his past glory. Back then, when Wang Lin faced a life and death situation, he still needed Sun Tai's help. If it wasn't for Sun Tai, Wang Lin would have already been killed by the giant demon clan's ancestor. However, this person's cultivation level was unfathomable, and the aura he gave off made Sun Tai feel that Wang Lin had killed cultivators at the same cultivation level as him. Killing an ascendant cultivator was a terrifying concept. The strong contrast caused Sun Tai to feel extremely complicated emotions. The changes in the person before him in these hundreds of years made him feel as if the world had turned upside down. While he was in a trance, his impression of the weak and insignificant figure that he could only look up to had gradually disappeared. In its place was an existence that was so powerful that he didn't even dare to speak loudly or look directly into his eyes. In fact, he wouldn't even have any complaints if he became his servant. Wang Lin did not know Sun Tai's various psychological changes like the back of his hand. However, from his expression, he more or less knew what was going on. He did not say anything and merely looked at Sun Tai calmly. Sun Tai stared blankly at Wang Lin and said in a low voice, What is your current cultivation? Ascendant. Wang Lin said calmly. Sun Tai bitterly smiled. He didn't believe that Wang Lin's cultivation was only at the ascendant stage. If he really was at the ascendant stage, he would have been able to sense it. However, in his eyes, even the Ran family's ancestor couldn't compare to this little figure from the past. He finally understood why the Ran family's ancestor would give the grade 8 pill to Wang Lin in such a manner. You still haven't answered my question. Wang Lin's voice was extremely calm. He withdrew his gaze from Sun Tai and looked outside the window. This simple sentence caused Sun Tai's body to tremble. However, it was immediately replaced by a complicated feeling in his heart. Back then, how could a minor character dare to speak to him in such a tone? But now, the sad thing was that when he spoke to him in such a manner, his heart actually trembled. When I was transferred to the Luo Tian star system, it was next to planet Donglin. I lived there for nearly 100 years and worked as a servant for the Lu family for 100 years before I finally gained my freedom and was able to leave. The mark on my body was broken by someone from the Lu family, but I didn't expect the mark to still exist in the end. Sun Tai bitterly said. The Lu family? Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. Sun Tai whispered, the three most powerful families on planet Donglin are the Su, Lu, and Lu families. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he slowly said, how strong are these three families? What is so special about planet Donglin? Very strong. These three families are unfathomable. As for how strong they are with my status, I don't know. However, these three families can casually send out an elder to wipe out planet Ranyun. As for what is different about planet Donglin, it can only be said that it is a chaotic hell, a bloody world. As Sun Tai spoke, he recalled his memories of planet Donglin, and fear appeared in his eyes. This trace of fear was seen by Wang Lin, and he sighed in his heart. The serene Suzaku of the past was no longer here. Even if Sun Tai recovered his previous cultivation, he would never be able to climb any higher. This was because he had lost the Tao heart that a cultivator should have. His Tao heart had been crushed by the 100 years on planet Donglin. Wang Lin suddenly asked, is there a Xiang family on planet Donglin? Xiang family? Sun Tai was startled. He carefully thought for a long time before shaking his head. As far as I know, there is no Xiang family on planet Donglin. Of course, it is also possible that my status is too low and I don't know some secret. Wang Lin silently pondered. After a while, he looked at Sun Tai and said, you are the head elder of the Serene Suzaku, so you must know about the Serene. What kind of organization is this Serene? Sun Tai let out a sigh and bitterly said, although I'm the head elder of the Suzaku Serene, you have to know that there are many people like me. I don't know much about the secrets of the Serene. I only know that the Serene is one of the two great sects in the Alliance star system. The sects I'm talking about here are real sections. They aren't confined to just one planet, but they are very large and affect the entire Alliance. There were many powerful cultivators inside, and they were so powerful that they even extended into the Cultivation Alliance. Rumor has it that the Serene sect master has a very high status in the Alliance. This is why the Serene has existed for so long. As for the other great sect that can compete with the Serene, it is the Four Divine sect. To be more accurate, Suzaku can be considered a branch of the Four Divine sect that split off a long time ago. Rumor has it that the first generation Rosefinch's son came from Planet Four Divine sect. Planet Four Divine is only a branch of the Four Divine sect. If you carefully calculate it, you can even be considered an outer disciple of the Four Divine sect. Wang Lin's eyes became serious. After all, he had only cultivated for a short period of time, so he didn't know about these secrets. Now that he heard this, he gained a new understanding of the Alliance star system. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin looked at Sun Tai and asked, what is your status in the Ran family? I'm just a guest of the Ran family. I live out my retirement in the whole treasure pavilion. It was only because the Ran family's ancestors saw that I had some knowledge in alchemy and treasure refining that he took me in. Sun Tai's eyes were filled with sadness. He hesitated a bit and then said, "That rank 8 pill you shouldn't have taken it." This was the Ran family's ancestors' scheme. For years ago, Sun Tai spoke in great detail. He told Wang Lin everything he knew from 4 years ago, and it was roughly the same as what Sun Shi had said. At this moment, the sky outside darkened and it was dusk. The setting sun shined through the window and landed on Sun Tai's body. This made him look even older, as if he was in his twilight years. There was even a hint of death aura coming from his body. Although it was very faint, Wang Lin's domain was life and death, so he was able to see through it at a glance. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and calmly said, "You don't have much lifespan left." Sun Tai bitterly nodded. "There isn't much left. In another 20 years, the old man will be able to feel it. You go back. In 20 years, if I'm still on planet Ranyun, I'll personally send you off." Wang Lin closed his eyes. Sun Tai pondered for a long time. He stood up, looked at the setting sun outside the window, and softly said, Can you promise me one thing?" Wang Lin didn't open his eyes and calmly said, "Speak. In 20 years, if you really send me off, please bring my ashes back to planet Dark Moon in the Alliance star system. There is a mountain there, and I remember that there is a village at the foot of the mountain. Send my ashes there," Wang Lin sighed. He opened his eyes, looked at Sun Tai, and nodded. Sun Tai smiled gratefully. At this moment, he was like an old man among mortals. Before he died, he wanted to return to his roots and not become a soul in a foreign land. He took out a bag of holding and slowly placed it on the side. He softly said, "There are some celestial jades inside. I'm preparing to use them to recover my cultivation one day. After seeing you, I feel like I don't need them anymore. Take them. There are also the old man's alchemy and refining experiences inside. Consider it my thanks for sending the old man back to his hometown." Sun Tai walked out as he faced the setting sun. The afterglow of the setting sun gave off an orange glow as he walked further and further away. Meeting an old friend in a foreign land was an indescribable feeling. As he watched Sun Tai leave, in Wang Lin's eyes, the all-powerful head elder Serene, who fought against Zhou Yi and stole the female corpse, gradually overlapped with this figure. Even when Sun Tai left, he didn't ask what happened to the demon child he released back then. Perhaps he had really given up on everything and thought things through. He just wanted to spend the remaining 20 years peacefully and ordinarily. Giving away the bag of holding was also a sign of letting go of the knot in his heart. It meant that he had given up on the possibility of recovering and had given up on everything, including the unwillingness he had felt in the hundreds of years he had spent in the Luo Tian star system. He had ended up like this because of Wang Lin, but because of Wang Lin, he had given up on everything and freed himself from hundreds of years of pain in his heart. If there really was karma, then this was it. His only request was to return to his root. He wanted Wang Lin to send him back to his hometown, back to that small village at the foot of Heavenly Mountain. As the afterglow fell, Wang Lin closed his eyes. Life and death, karma and karma, sometimes only a thought was needed. It was like yin and yang, illusory and real. Things in the world were like this. Karma is another manifestation after the concept of reincarnation and life. It can even be said that karma is the origin of life and death. Because there is life, there will be the fruit of death. There was a hint of understanding in Wang Lin's eyes, but he still felt a little shaky. It was as if he could see it, but he couldn't touch it. The next chapter would come later. Chapter 671. It was said that life and death were the most unfathomable things in the world. That was because mortals had no way of knowing when they would face it. Thus, the mysteriousness of death was like an unfathomable mystery that caused fear to rise from the depths of one's soul. However, they don't know that life and death are only a single manifestation. Tracing back to the source is just a change in karma and karma. Yesterday's karma and today's karma, no one can escape. Just like Lu Mei at this moment. She was sitting in the lotus position inside the Huan family's pavilion on planet Thousand Illusion. Looking at this unfamiliar environment, she touched her bag of holding and felt a bit more at ease. It was as if with the things inside the bag accompanying her, she would no longer be lonely. As she gently rubbed the bag of holding, there was a flash of pain in Lu Mei's eyes. However, this pain was soon replaced by indifference. There seemed to be something inside the bag that suddenly gave off waves of fluctuations. As if feeling the fluctuations inside the bag of holding, Lu Mei bit the tip of her finger, squeezed out a drop of blood, and threw it into the bag of holding. The fluctuations gradually disappeared until they never appeared again. Lu Mei let out a sigh. The treasure I prepared for him is useless. Something big had happened on planet Thousand Illusion recently. An ancestor of the Huan family that left thousands of years ago had returned and brought back a disciple with shocking talent. He was going to use the blood exchange spell on this disciple in 3 months to make this disciple a direct descendant of the Huan family. This matter quickly spread like a storm. It wasn't until all the other cultivation planets that belonged to planet Thousand Illusion learned of it that it stopped spreading. Planet Ran Yun was an existence that belonged to planet Thousand Illusion. After Sun Tai left, Wang Lin had been in closed-door cultivation in the Fong Mansion. There were more than 50,000 celestial jades inside Sun Tai's bag of holding. This was almost the limit of what Sun Tai could get. Adding on the celestial jades from before, Wang Lin had less than 300,000 celestial jade. His eyes lit up and he muttered to himself, "It should be barely enough." He stood up and disappeared from the room. When he reappeared, he was on a wasteland 50,000 kilometers away from the Sun family's city. His divine sense spread out and he slapped his bag of holding. A large amount of celestial jades flew out and filled the sky. Wang Lin sat down in the lotus position. His hands formed a seal and he placed down several seals. The celestial jades suddenly fell from the sky and formed a large formation within 5 kilometers of him. This formation had no name. It was something Wang Lin had created using the third style of the underworld river. It could absorb a large amount of celestial jades at once and use the powerful impact to increase one's cultivation level. When nearly 300,000 celestial jades fell, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and the 7-star sword formation flew out. At the same time, the celestial guard under Wang Lin of the sword formation appeared. If anyone tried to disturb them, they would be killed. After taking a deep breath, Wang Lin closed his eyes. His hands formed a seal on his knees and he softly said, "Break!" His voice turned into a seal that spread out in all directions, causing the surrounding celestial jades to explode into dust. It was as if the entire world was covered by the dust of the celestial jades, and an unimaginable amount of celestial spiritual energy suddenly erupted. This celestial spiritual energy was extremely powerful. It formed a celestial spiritual energy hurricane with Wang Lin as the center and charged into the sky. A vast ripple spread out in all directions. Thunder rumbled in the sky, and the rumbling echoed in the world. The celestial spiritual energy hurricane rapidly grew. As more celestial jades exploded, more celestial spiritual energy entered the hurricane, causing it to become stronger and stronger. It was as if it was going to charge out of planet Ran Yun. At this moment, only 3 people on planet Ran Yun could clearly feel this powerful celestial spiritual energy storm. The first person was naturally the closest person, Sun Shi. Sun Shi, who was cultivating, suddenly opened his eyes and they were filled with shock. The second person was a middle-aged man in the depths of a glacier on the other side of planet Ranyun. He was inside a piece of ice that had been frozen for tens of thousands of years and was absorbing the cold energy inside it. The moment the celestial force hurricane appeared, he suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes shined brightly as he looked through the ice toward where the celestial force hurricane was. "Is this a warning?" The middle-aged man frowned slightly. He hesitated for a bit and no longer paid any attention to it. The third person was at the center of planet Ranyun, where the Ran family was. Inside the Ran family's ancestral home, an old man with a head full of white hair was listening to the people who returned from the Sun family's small city report on the result of the pill auction. When he heard that the other party had only gotten one celestial jade for a grade 8 pill, the old man let out a cold snort and his eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. He was about to speak, but at this moment, the aura of the celestial spiritual energy hurricane made the old man stand up. He looked at the direction of the hurricane and his face became gloomy. After a long time, he muttered to himself, "What does he mean by this?" Inside the hurricane, Wang Lin's hands formed another seal. He suddenly opened his eyes and shouted, "Absorb!" One word was like a bolt of thunder that seemed like it was going to shatter the hurricane. As Wang Lin opened his mouth, the hurricane was sucked into his mouth at a speed visible to the naked eye. Vaguely, an underworld river appeared around Wang Lin's body. This underworld river surrounded Wang Lin and formed an invisible force that gathered inside the celestial spiritual energy hurricane. Like a whale swallowing the world, the celestial spiritual energy hurricane quickly shrank and was sucked into Wang Lin's mouth. Large amounts of celestial jades moved through Wang Lin's body, causing his meridians to swell countless times. When the celestial spiritual energy entered his origin soul, it was immediately devoured by his origin soul. At this moment, Wang Lin's body was like a tidal abyss, and his origin soul was like a black hole that devoured everything. The powerful celestial spiritual energy hurricane rapidly shrank under Wang Lin's devouring. In the end, all of it disappeared into his mouth. Wang Lin's face turned slightly red and lightning flashed in his eyes. His body was covered in lightning and crackling sounds could be heard. The hurricane dissipated and the world returned to normal. Aside from the fact that there were no clouds in the surrounding area, there was nothing else strange. It was as if everything that had just happened was an illusion. The underworld river also gradually faded until it disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin took a deep breath and stood up. His eyes were bright. "I only need to comprehend my domain to reach the mid-stage of Ascendant. However, I can't rush comprehending my domain. I might be able to comprehend it in the next moment, or it might take 10 years, 100 years. Right now, it's time to deal with some trivial matters. I originally wanted to peacefully cultivate on planet Ranyun, but there are some people who don't want planet Ranyun to remain peaceful. Since they want to drag me into this matter, then they must show enough sincerity. I'm sure the three of them have a good idea of what I did just now." Wang Lin revealed a sneer. He waved his right hand and the 7-star sword formation returned to his bag of holding. The invisible celestial guard turned back into Wang Lin's shadow. With one step, Wang Lin used a greater teleportation and his divine sense spread out. In an instant, his divine sense covered the entire planet. After locking onto the mid-stage Ascendant Cultivator's divine sense, Wang Lin disappeared. In the Ran family's ancestral home, the old man's expression changed and his eyes shined brightly. His body flickered and he teleported 5,000 kilometers away from the Ran family's ancestral home. The moment he appeared, his right hand formed a seal and a ray of thunder appeared in his hand. Without any hesitation, he threw his palm at the void. There was a thunderous rumble in the sky as the old man threw his right hand. A bolt of thunder condensed in his palm. Thunder Palm, one of the Ran family's ancestors' ascendant spells. The bolt of thunder charged into the void. Just at this moment, a cold snort came from the void and Wang Lin stepped out. He didn't move, but the shadow behind him flickered. The celestial guard turned into a shadow and swept by Wang Lin. The thunder palm immediately collapsed. At the same time, the celestial guard arrived before the Ran family's ancestor and gently pushed him. The old man immediately coughed out a mouthful of blood and retreated like a meteor. As he retreated, he coughed out another mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. He quickly took out a large amount of pills and swallowed them. All of this happened in an instant. It was so fast that aside from terror, the Ran family's ancestor also felt a deep sense of fear. What exactly is this person's cultivation level? It's too terrifying. He didn't have any killing intent, or else he would have killed me without a doubt. Could this person's cultivation be at the peak of the late stage of ascendant? The old man sucked in a breath of cold air. The celestial guard's shadow shrank and disappeared behind Wang Lin. Wang Lin coldly looked at the Ran family's ancestor and calmly said, "So it was you who wanted to drag me into the matter from 4 years ago?" The old man's heart trembled. After pondering a bit, he clenched his teeth and said, "Fellow cultivator, I know I was wrong, but I won't listen to your excuses. If you want my protection, then you have to show your sincerity. Your sincerity is not enough." Wang Lin had his hands behind his back and looked calm. The old man took a deep breath. Hundreds of thoughts flashed through his mind and he immediately said, "What does fellow cultivator mean?" Wang Lin slowly said, "Give me 90% of your family's celestial jades." The old man pondered and began to hesitate. Wang Lin looked ahead and calmly said, "The two of you, come out as well." Under Wang Lin's gaze, 2 shadows appeared. It was Sun Shi and the middle-aged man inside the glacier. Both of their eyes were filled with terror. The scene of the Ran family's ancestor almost dying from that one sweep shook their minds greatly. "You, take out 70% of your family's celestial jades as protection." Wang Lin pointed at Sun Shi. Sun Shi's eyes became serious and he immediately nodded. "Fellow cultivator Su, this matter is possible. As long as I can walk out from the shadow of 4 years ago, I'll accept this condition. As for you, you will also take 90% of your celestial jade. Give them all to me." Wang Lin's gaze fell on the middle-aged man inside the glacier. In addition, the remaining pills and bags of holding from 4 years ago, as well as all the belongings of the Huan family member that died by your hands, give them all to me. Also, if I still don't have enough celestial jades, I'll need you guys to get them. If you can't satisfy my cultivation needs, then I won't interfere in this matter. Take a bath and get a haircut so I'm late. Everyone, please forgive me. I haven't taken a bath in more than a month, and the uncle that gave me a bath was frowning as he rubbed me. When I looked at him out of the corner of my eye, I found that he looked very similar to Ling Tianho in my mind. Chapter 672. These are my conditions for protecting you. Wang Lin's words didn't give others the right to choose. He withdrew his gaze from the 3 of them. If the 3 of them agreed, then it would be fine. If they didn't agree, then Wang Lin naturally wouldn't get involved in this mess. The Ran family's ancestor pondered a bit. The threat of the Huan family was simply too great. If no one stood up for them, then once they were found out, their Ran family would face the danger of extinction. He clenched his teeth and decisively said, "Fine." After he finished speaking, the Ran family's ancestor's eyes lit up and he turned his head toward the middle-aged man cultivating inside the ice. The Ran family's ancestor wasn't the only one like this. Sun Shi's eyes also revealed a strange light as he looked at the middle-aged man, Carefree Sanren. The Ran family's ancestor coldly said, "Brother Zhao, that matter was done by the 3 of us at the same time. Could it be that you want to stay out of this?" Carefree Sanren pondered for a while and wryly smiled. "I agree." With that, He took out a bag of holding filled with celestial jade. After taking out some, he threw it at Wang Lin and bitterly said, "My family isn't big, so I don't have that many celestial jades. The celestial jades in this bag of holding were saved up by me through hard work." The Ran family's ancestor and son, she also handed over the celestial jade. Celestial jades were precious consumables that cultivators often carried with them. As for the things left behind by the Huan family members, the three of them didn't hesitate to take them out and hand them over to Wang Lin. These things had been in their hands for 4 years. They weren't treasures but a killing calamity that weighed down on their hearts and made them feel uneasy. After putting away these things, Wang Lin turned around and disappeared. He only left behind one sentence that floated in the air. "Nothing, don't disturb me. If the Huan family comes, I'll act." After Wang Lin left, the three of them silently pondered. Sun Shi had other thoughts in his mind, so he was the most relaxed. He faintly smiled and clasped his hands. "Fellow cultivators, I still have important matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first." Carefree Sanren also sighed and said, "I also need to take a trip back to the family to prepare for fellow cultivator Su's request for celestial jades." The Ran family's ancestor stood there alone and was silent for a long time. Then he let out a deep breath, looked into the distance, and muttered to himself, "Forget it, I'll lose money to avoid disaster." The matter from 4 years ago was taken care of by Su Mu. If he doesn't die, nothing will happen to us. Moreover, this person doesn't look like someone who would break his promise, but I still have to guard against this person secretly leaving planet Ranyun. At this moment, in the southern part of planet Thousand Illusion, in the Huan family's ancestral home, the Huan family's head, Huan Fengshan, respectfully stood before an old man. This old man was thin, and he was the person who brought Lu Mei back from the Alliance star system. The old man's voice was cold. "He disappeared 4 years ago. Why are you only dealing with him now?" The family head, Huan Fengshan, calmly said, "Ancestor, that person was originally a branch family member of my Huan family. However, his talent was good and his cultivation was at the mid-stage of ascendant, so he was given this position. As you know, there are too many people in my Huan family. Aside from the direct descendants, even if everyone else disappeared, it is impossible to carefully investigate them all." The old man frowned and asked, "Is there no one with a higher cultivation level than this person?" Huan Fengshan softly said, "Ancestor, the time you're asking for is too short. If you give me 3 more months I can find someone more qualified, but right now I can't." The old man pondered a bit and decisively said, "Okay, I'll give you 3 more months." Huan Fengshan raised his head and asked, "Then what about the family member that disappeared 4 years ago? Since you know about this matter, send the family guard assigned to Huan Mei to deal with it. Everyone involved in this matter must be uprooted. The Huan families must be established." Huan Fengshan nodded and left. After leaving the room, there was a hint of gloominess in his eyes and he thought, "The ancestor is really getting old." He didn't hesitate to use the blood transfusion art for an outsider and even wants Huan Mei to establish her might. Could it be that he's planning to hand the Huan family over to this person in the future? 3 days later, Lu Mei was inside her pavilion. She looked at the sky outside and softly said, "Planet Ranyun. Since Godfather has handed this matter to me and told me to send the family guard to deal with it, then Huan Dong, you go, yes?" A person immediately appeared from the void behind Lu Mei. This person looked to be around 30 years old, and was very handsome. After he appeared, he knelt down on one knee and looked at Lu Mei's back with a gaze filled with fanaticism. Lu Mei turned around, looked at the man behind her, and softly said, "Your cultivation has reached the peak of the mid-stage of ascendant, so there shouldn't be any accidents on this trip. Although this matter is small, it is the first time I've done something in the Huan family. You must quickly decide. Huan Dong, do you understand?" Rest assured, Mississippi Huan Dong will not let you down. Huan Dong took a deep breath and his eyes became even more fanatical. When he first saw Lu Mei, his mind was shaken and he was shocked. The person with the highest cultivation on planet Ran Yun is only the Ran family's ancestor. That person is the same as me, at the mid-stage of ascendant. Even if you gave him 100 guts, he wouldn't dare to resist. Huan Dong's trip will not bring shame to Mrs. Reputation. Lu Mei revealed a smile. Her smile was extremely beautiful, and in Huan Dong's eyes, it was even more stunning. He was startled for a moment and the fanaticism in his eyes became even stronger. There was even a hint of obsession in his eyes. Wang Lin teleported back to the Sun family's small city. He didn't directly return to the Fong mansion but walked on the street while pondering his comprehension of his domain. His life and death domain had already fused with his origin soul. His origin soul was his comprehension of the life and death domain. Above life and death is karma. I can't be sure. The Tao of karma is too big. When I reached the ascendant stage, I comprehended my Tao and turned into the underworld river, but this underworld river Tao is the manifestation of death in life and death. I died in the underworld river. Looking at the bustling crowd around him, Wang Lin frowned. But where is the Tao of life? While pondering, Wang Lin let out a sigh and stepped into the northern part of the city. He immediately saw the young man sitting under a boulder and revealed a smile. This woman is very kind. There aren't many cultivators like her in the cultivation world. The young man seemed to notice something and opened his eyes. When he saw Wang Lin, he was startled and then said in joy, weren't you captured by someone? Wang Lin smiled and said, they asked me a few things and then let me leave. The young man looked at Wang Lin with confusion but didn't continue to ask. Everyone had their own secret. If the other person didn't want to talk about it, there was no point in asking. You should hurry up and cultivate. I can see that your cultivation hasn't changed since you came here. Remember what I told you last time. The young man looked at Wang Lin seriously and said, hard work can make up for one's lack of talent. Wang Lin nodded and smiled. You too, work hard and try to reach the soul formation stage as soon as possible. Soul formation. The young man shook his head bitterly and said, I heard from the elders in my family that reaching the soul formation stage has nothing to do with hard work. No matter how hard you work, if you don't understand the heavens, you won't be able to become a demigod. You won't be able to touch the edge of the soul formation stage. I will be satisfied if I can reach the peak of the late stage of the nascent soul realm. Wang Lin smiled. The sun was behind him and the sunlight fell on his body. His smile seemed to be stained by the sunlight. Maintain your current state of mind. You can reach the soul formation stage. The young man obviously thought that Wang Lin was trying to comfort him. He smiled and said, okay, if I reach the soul formation stage one day, I will remember your prediction today. For now, you should go back and cultivate. Wang Lin smiled and nodded. He walked into the entrance and disappeared. The young man under the rock muttered to himself, can I really reach the soul formation stage? After returning to the Fong mansion, Wang Lin sat down in the lotus position. His body was filled with celestial spiritual energy. If his domain didn't increase, then no matter how much celestial spiritual energy he devoured, it would be useless. After pondering for a bit, he took out the Huan family members' belongings that the Ran family's ancestor and company had handed over. All of the belongings were placed inside a bag of holding. There were some clothes and some trivial things inside. What made Wang Lin's eyes narrow, aside from the rank 8 pill, were 2 treasures, a piece of jade and a token. These 2 treasures didn't have any divine sense imprints on them. There was even a trace of resentment left behind by the Huan family members when they died. It was obvious that the Ran family's ancestor and carefree Sanrin didn't dare to leave their divine sense imprints on them. One of the treasures was a black comb with a total of 19 teeth. It gave off the smell of blood. When it appeared in Wang Lin's hand, he immediately felt the ferocious aura coming from it. An attack-type pseudo-celestial treasure. There is also a formation on it. The power of this treasure is extraordinary. Wang Lin's finger gently touched the teeth of the comb and his gaze fell on the other treasure. This was a pair of metallic flints. They were completely purple and gold, and as they floated in his hand, Wang Lin could clearly feel the piercing light coming from them. Staring at the flints, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and then they shined brightly. He used his hand to pinch one piece and rubbed it against each other. Sparks immediately appeared and a wave of heat rushed toward his face. Naturally formed treasures. Wang Lin sucked in a breath of cold air and his attention was completely focused on the pair of flint. Most treasures were refined by cultivators, but some were naturally formed. These kinds of treasures were too rare. They were even rarer than inheritance treasures. Wang Lin only knew about these kinds of treasures from the memories of the ancient god 2C. In truth, to the ancient gods, these weren't really treasures but refining materials. Flint was one of the naturally occurring materials for refining weapons. It was originally a metallic material, but due to its extreme hardness and the fact that it contained some strange divine abilities, when it rubbed against each other, sparks would be produced. These sparks weren't used by mortals to make fire, but a type of golden fire. It was similar to the yang fire that the Sky Demon Country's chief supervisor used in the Demon Spirit Land. If one didn't use it to refine a treasure, they could use it as a treasure, and its power would be extraordinary. Chapter 673. Unfortunately, there are too many flaws and too little metal. Otherwise, the power of this fire stone would not be any weaker than a top pseudo-celestial treasure. If it was a bit bigger, it would be comparable to a low-rank celestial treasure. Wang Lin stared at the fire stone with pity in his eyes. Although this pair of fire stones was formed naturally, there were too many impurities. If he refined them, they wouldn't even reach 1/10 of their original size. After putting it away, Wang Lin picked up the token and scanned it with his divine sense. The token suddenly gave off a dazzling light and changed colors 3 times before returning to normal. Is this the identity token of the Huan family? Wang Lin held the token and carefully examined it with his divine sense. After a long time, his eyes became serious. At first glance, there was nothing special about this token. It was just a symbol of identity. No matter how much Wang Lin examined it with his divine sense, it was still the same. However, Wang Lin felt like something was wrong. After pondering a bit, he shouted, "Celestial Guard!" The shadow under him immediately extended out and stuck close to Wang Lin's skin. It moved along his arm and surrounded the token. Wang Lin closed his eyes and used the change in the yin and yang of the Celestial Guard to immediately see what was wrong with the token. Shortly after, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes and revealed a gloomy expression. The material of this token is ordinary, but there is a spell inside. This spell is related to the soul piece. I presume the Huan family already knows of the deaths of their family members. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin put down the token and picked up the last thing, the jade. This jade also didn't have any divine sense on it, only a sliver of resentment from the people that had died. It seems the Ran family's ancestor and the other 2 are very afraid of me. They don't even dare to send their divine sense in. Otherwise, this resentment would have disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his divine sense entered the jade. The sliver of resentment immediately dissipated. The moment his divine sense entered, an invisible fluctuation came from the jade. This fluctuation silently spread out and was about to spread out from Wang Lin's room. Just at this moment, there was a flash of lightning in Wang Lin's eyes and strands of lightning shot out from his eyes. Bursts of crackling sounds came from the jade. The fluctuation was immediately shattered by the lightning and completely dissipated. After erasing the message left on the jade, Wang Lin carefully looked at the jade. After a long time, Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense. His eyes revealed a strange light that became brighter and brighter. It really is the Thousand Illusion ruthless Tao. So the Huan family of Planet Thousand Illusion is like this. This jade recorded the cultivation method of the Huan family. However, there were some special restrictions on it that hid the key points. Even if an outsider obtained it, they wouldn't be able to see through it. The way to break it was the bloodline. If this was it, it wouldn't cause Wang Lin to be so moved. What really caused him to be like this was the information recorded by the Huan family member that died 4 years ago. On planet Yunxia, a vein of metal was found. Take a pair, the strange light in Wang Lin's eyes was like a bright lamp. He stared at the jade and muttered to himself, a vein of metal type fire stone. Vein of metal. No wonder this person was chased until he was seriously injured and fled to planet Ranyun. Anyone would immediately try to steal such a treasure and seal off all news of it. From this, I'm even more certain that the Ran family's ancestor and the other two didn't see this jade. Otherwise, how could they have let me participate? Of course, I can't rule out the possibility that there is some mystery behind this. Wang Lin pondered for a moment. He believed that the Ran family's ancestor and the other two didn't know about this. After taking a deep breath, Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly and he muttered, "The heaven-defying bead is only missing the metal type. I don't believe an entire vein of metal-type fire stone can't make it complete. Once the heaven-defying bead is complete, according to what Situ Nan said, it will recognize an owner. I just don't know what kind of spell it will have after it recognizes an owner. If the news of this metal-type fire stone vein hadn't been leaked, then it wouldn't have mattered. However, once it is, I'll kill anyone who tries to steal it from me." Wang Lin's eyes became cold and filled with killing intent. Wang Lin put away everything. His eyes lit up and he pondered. Planet Yunxia. I just don't know where this planet is. Wang Lin opened his eyes and his divine sense swept across planet Ranyun. Then his divine sense descended on where Sun Shi was. Sun Shi was sitting in the Sun family's ancestral home. He was planning to cultivate, but his body suddenly trembled and he looked up. Wang Lin's ethereal voice entered his ears. Engrave everything you know about the Luo Tian star system on a jade and send it over. Sun Shi's eyes lit up and he nodded. He took out a jade from his bag of holding and immediately threw it out. The jade turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the sky. In a flash, 10 days passed. The star map jade was already in Wang Lin's hands. He found planet Yunxia on the star map. This planet was a bit far from here, and according to Wang Lin's schedule, even if he didn't waste any time on planet Yunxia, it would take several months to go back and forth. The star map jade had Sun Shi's introduction. There were no cultivators on planet Yunxia. It was an abandoned planet filled with poisonous fog and miasma that could kill cultivators. Holding the jade, Wang Lin began to ponder. During these 10 days, he had carefully studied the star map and memorized it. At the same time, he organized his treasures. On this day, Wang Lin stood up and walked out of the house. With one step, he disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was tens of thousands of kilometers away. He charged into the atmosphere. Just at this moment, the Ran family's ancestor, Carefree Sanren, and Sun Shi arrived and appeared before Wang Lin. The Ran family's ancestor's expression was gloomy. He looked at Wang Lin and whispered, "Fellow cultivator Su, are you leaving?" Carefree Sanren's expression was also gloomy. He was obviously angry. Only Sun Shi revealed a bitter smile. He already had a bad feeling when Wang Lin asked for the star map, but he didn't expect Su Mu to really want to leave. Wang Lin coldly looked at the three of them and calmly said, "I won't go back on my word. I'll be gone for at most a year, or at least a few months." If it wasn't for the celestial jades, Wang Lin wouldn't have explained this to the three of them. After hearing Wang Lin's explanation, the Ran family's ancestor hesitated for a bit and said, "Fellow cultivator Su, I don't know why you have to leave, but the three of us might be able to help you." Carefree Sanren clasped his hands and said, "Fellow cultivator Su, please don't blame us. It's just that the three of us have given you everything we have, yet you want to leave planet Ran Yun in less than half a month. The three of us inevitably have some suspicions. Fellow cultivator Su, although I believe in your character, this matter." Sun Shi bitterly smiled. It was reasonable for the three of them to be like this. After all, no matter who it was, they would be like this if they had just taken out most of their family property. Wang Lin frowned. His expression suddenly changed and he looked up at the sky. The expressions of the Ran family's ancestor and the others also changed. They all looked up at the sky. At this moment, outside planet Ran Yun, Huan Dong was standing on a star compass. His eyes were cold and there was a hint of arrogance as he charged straight toward planet Ran Yun. "Since the young miss left this matter to me to deal with, I have to do it cleanly. This way, the young miss will definitely take a fancy to me. Kill everyone involved." The fanaticism in Huan Dong's eyes became even stronger. His figure was like a rainbow as he directly charged into the atmosphere of planet Ran Yun. Like a meteor descending, Huan Dong's descent was extremely high profile. His divine sense spread out like crazy and the celestial spiritual energy inside his body surrounded the world. With his divine sense combined, he created the aura of a god descending to the mortal world. At this moment, all the cultivators on planet Ran Yun felt a powerful aura. This aura was filled with arrogance. It was as if it was looking at an ant as it swept across the planet. "I'm Huan Dong, the rank 2 family guard of the Huan family. Ascendant cultivator of planet Ran Yun, quickly come and see me." His cold voice was filled with arrogance. His voice was like thunder as it spread across planet Ran Yun. All the cultivators below the ascendant stage were shaken, and some of the low-level cultivators even coughed out blood. The young man under the rock in the Sun family's small city was one of them. He was cultivating when Huan Dong's roar, which contained celestial spiritual energy and divine sense, shook his heart. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and his body immediately weakened. There were many cultivators like him on planet Ran Yun. At this moment, the faces of the Ran family's ancestor, Sun Shi, and Carefree Sanren all turned pale without a trace of blood. The two words, Huan family, were like an invincible sword that penetrated the origin souls of the scattered cultivators. This caused their minds to tremble and their expressions to change greatly. Sun Shi muttered to himself with a bitter expression, "They're here. The Huan family. They're here." Then he looked at Wang Lin with a hint of despair in his eyes. The Ran family's ancestor was the same. Along with Carefree Sanren, they both looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, but his eyes revealed a hint of coldness. Wang Lin's divine sense spread out like thunder. It didn't leak out at all as it locked onto the sky and turned into one word. Cram. With one word, thunder appeared and exploded like crazy. Huan Dong, who had just charged out from the atmosphere, was immediately struck by the thunder. His eyes were filled with killing intent and he shouted, "You're courting death." With that, his right hand formed a seal and a ray of white light appeared in his hand. At the same time, a cold aura came from his body and spread across the world. An ascendant cultivator's domain fused with their origin soul. This person was a member of the Huan family, but due to his limited talent, he couldn't cultivate the thousand illusion ruthless art. What he cultivated was the Huan family's second-rank Dao method called the 5-element heart art. The domain he was comprehending was the metal element of the 5 elements incantation. Metal represented indestructible. His domain moved with the divine ability, turning into a white light in his right hand. At that moment, it seemed to replace the light in the sky, as if it had absorbed all the light in the sky into his hand. Borrowing the power of the light, he suddenly pressed down. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, but the thunder in his eyes moved across his body. He was like a celestial that controlled thunder. He pointed with his right hand and the finger of death shot out. This time, the finger of death was filled with powerful lightning, so its power was several times stronger. If one looked closely, they would feel like they were facing divine retribution. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.